there's no more room in hell.
The dead will start a podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to No More Room in Hell number 42. That's right, we are finally back. I think we got a lot to say, a lot to talk about, but I guess we'll find out soon. Joining me, as always, it's Mr. Venom. What's up, Venom? How are you?
Greetings and salutations, lovelorn vampires. How the fuck are you, Mike? I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, man. It's kind of weird because, you know, we do fresh cuts together, obviously, too. So it's like even when this show is taking, you know, longer gaps between episodes than usual, it feels kind of weird saying, hey, we haven't recorded in a while, because me and you are like, well, actually, us two have recorded a few days ago, like, you know.
Yep. I'm thoroughly sick of recording with Mike at this point. Yes.
Yeah, I know. But hey, this show brings back in our other co-hosts, so welcome in Derek. What's up, Derek? How are you?
Yes, it's been a while, and it's probably mostly due to me, because I've been just super fucking busy scheduling. I was coming down from a cold last week when we were supposed to record last week, and just scheduling and things came up, personal things. So thank you for being patient with me, guys, and sorry our Valentine's episode's in the beginning of March. It happens, but
whatever.
Yeah,
we'll do our St. Patrick's Day episode in May. No big deal.
Yeah, things like this happen. Not a big deal. I mean, it always helps when all of us are involved with other things. So it's not like if we can't record this show that we're totally shut out from just making content. So everyone that listens to this is probably still familiar with all our other stuff. So, but yeah, we're back hopefully to regularly scheduled shows. But for now, we'll just try to get through this one. And I'm assuming we have a lot to catch up on with what we've been watching, playing, reading, all that kind of stuff. So I guess we will get right into our list on that. So Venom, I'll kick it to you first. What do you want to tell us that you've been up to?
As I was telling the guys before we started recording, I started a new job at the beginning of the year this year. It's keeping me incredibly busy, way busier than DirecTV ever kept me. So I don't have the free time to watch as much stuff as I'd like. Usually I like to bring brand new movies, like 2022 films that we don't cover on Fresh Cuts for this segment. But unfortunately, I've pretty much been sticking to our Fresh Cuts movies because of time and everything else. Like even as soon as we're done here tonight, I'll be watching this week's Fresh Cuts episode that we'll be discussing tomorrow night on the episode. But one thing that I have been watching that I recently rewatched, one of my favorite performances from one of my favorite genre actors. The actor is Mr. Vincent Price, and the movie is 1964's The Last Man on Earth. Now, some people might know this as the Omega Man. Some people might know this as I Am Legend, excuse me. I believe I Am Legend was the original Richard Matheson book, if I remember correctly.
correct.
Yep. And then, so we've had three movies, three at least popular movies. I know there have been more, because I know there was A Last Man on Earth that came out in the 2000s that I never saw, but I'm sure a few of you out there saw. But anyway, today we're discussing 1964, The Last Man on Earth. This one I like a lot more than, say, the more modern one. This one has so much more heart than Will Smith's I Am Legend. Like, Will Smith's I Am Legend is, it's an action-packed extravaganza, lots of CG effects, things like that. This one, it's a much more subdued story. Our movie actually starts as the pandemic is starting, so there's still lots of people on the earth, but then slowly, he starts losing people. He loses Vincent Price's character, Dr. Robert Morgan, loses his daughter, loses his wife. Suddenly he finds himself as the titular last man on earth. He ends up finding a woman, or running into a woman out in the real world during the day. The reasons that's important for those who haven't seen the movie is that the antagonists here, kind of like I Am Legend, are kind of a weird vampire zombie hybrid type thing where they can't come out in the sun. They only come out at night. And they kind of look like zombies, at least in this movie, with the pale blue skin. The thing is that they talk. The zombies can talk. So, I mean, it's very much a hybrid antagonist. So, it's up to the viewer's interpretation. But as I mentioned earlier, this is one of my favorite performances from Vincent Price. I love Witchfinder General. I love A House on Haunted Hill. But Last Man on Earth, I feel like this is a kind of a tour de force, maybe a little bit of a stretch, but for a Vincent Price performance, this is absolutely one of my favorites. Just a great movie, great story, great dialogue. Like I said, if you're looking for the action that you find in the more modern interpretations, you're not going to really see that here. But you've got just a nice little isolated story with, as I said, one of Vincent Price's best performances. So. I assume you guys, or at least one of you guys, have seen this. So go ahead, jump on in on Last Man on Earth.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's pretty great.
Damn right.
And it's Italian, too, so mic drop.
Yeah, that's right. You're not even thinking about that as you're watching it. But yeah, very much. Very Italian. I'm assuming from the silence, Mike hasn't seen it.
Yeah, I have not seen it. So I was sitting in the back row on this one to not interrupt, but it sounds like it's worth seeing for sure, though. Yeah, and I know what it is you're talking about. So.
Oh yeah, it's easily my favorite interpretation of this story. Like of the three major films that I named, The Omega Man, Last Man on Earth, and I Am Legend, this one is by far my favorite. It could be that I'm biased for Vincent Price. I'm very aware of that and okay with admitting it if that's the case. But yeah, this is by far my favorite interpretation. And as I said, one of my favorite performances of his. Yeah. He's not like over the top, goofy evil, which I'm very cool with. Don't get me wrong. I love over the top Vincent Price. But this one, to me, he runs the gamut of emotions, but without being the over the top, pseudo British, suave, debonair guy that he usually is. Like, he's legitimately scared and running for his life in multiple scenes in this movie. So it's just a different look at Vincent Price. I like it.
Yeah.
That's it for me, Mike, for this round.
All right, let's kick it on over to Derek. What do you got up first?
Okay. Now, you guys did cover this infamous movie on Fresh Cuts. And that is, I actually got a chance to sit down, put it on Netflix, and watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Woo!
Mike's favorite movie of the year.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, of the year of, I don't know. Not this year.
It's probably not even his favorite movie of the week.
Yeah.
You never know.
Probably not, yeah.
Yeah.
Watch him still make his top 10.
I would have lots of explaining to do if that happened.
No?
Yeah. But
so what's big there?
Yeah, it's definitely lacking in story. I'll admit that. The story's not the greatest, but the gore, it's what's like just when that, I was into the movie when that guy got a hammer in the knee, Leatherface is just fucking people up, and all of a sudden he just comes inside to this bus, and it's like the greatest scene ever.
That's the thing. This is a very divisive scene. Either this is the greatest Texas Chainsaw Massacre scene ever filmed, or you hate it. It's a fiery passion of 1,000 suns. There's no middle ground with this scene. You either love it or you can't stand it. Actually, I do love that scene. It's over the top. It's silly. It's not very Texas Chainsaw Massacre like, but it's an absolute gorehound's wet dream. So I accept it.
It's all the shit I wanted Leatherface to do in the other sequels, you know.
That's the thing. This new Texas Chainsaw is as violent as people perceived the 1974 movie to be. Yeah. Like a lot of people, you know, that you get that Mandela effect where, you know, people think the movie is way more violent than it was because, you know, they're turning their head or they're not really paying attention or they're plugging in scenes in their own head that they think happened. Like, you know, the big discussion of, do we actually see the hook go into that girl's back? The answer is no, but you'll find people that will swear on their life that you see the hook go into her back and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So that's the Mandela effect. But yeah, this movie, this modern one, gave us the gore that was perceived in the first one. If it works or not, that's up to the individual.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to say Mick Garris as Sally was amazing. I apologize for the actress upright. But man, she looks like Mick Garris.
Oh man, yeah. It's
all right. I'm done. Show's over.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have like, to me, the bus scene is good. Like, if you isolate that out as just its own thing, I'm fine with it. Like, I think I would be like the middle ground on, if we're just talking about the bus scene. I do think it's good for what it is. I just don't, to me, just something like that doesn't make or break the movie to me, because I'm like, it's a good individual scene that doesn't make me like the movie overall better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I've been burned so much on this fucking franchise already. I'm like, at least this one is sort of watchable for me, even though, you know, I'll admit some of it's shitty still. If that makes sense.
I guess the way I feel about it is like, if you're okay, so I think there's like two minds with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise itself, and I think that's really what it comes down to. For the people that are okay with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre just basically turning into Leatherface as a slasher icon guy running around killing people, you're probably gonna be fine with like the newer stuff, because that's kind of what TCM 3D was. Although
we don't talk about that movie here.
Well, but even my own memory of it's fading because I saw it.
The flashback scene, you know? The sheriff had the fucking fakest wig on.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole thing is like, if you look at the original, to me, everything that made that, you know, special and above, why I rank it so high just all time, is because it wasn't, well, obviously it predated most modern slashers anyway, but it didn't feel like the other slasher movies in how it approached the material. Even Leatherface himself wasn't just your average, like it wasn't a Jason or a Freddy or that kind of villain. And I think with where the franchise has gone, it's definitely turned into making it about him being that kind and kind of like slasher villain. And if people are okay with that and they're entertained by that, then I think you're going to like, you know, where the franchise has gone. And to me, I don't necessarily find it like it's not a terrible thing in itself. Just to me, I just kind of shrug my shoulders like, okay, so we're just turning this into every other like Friday the 13th movie, when that's not what Texas Chainsaw Massacre was. And I tend to hold the original idea and concept behind it, where it was like Leatherface. I think I meant to bring this up on Fresh Cuts, and we got so deep in the woods on other stuff, I never got a chance to say it. Not anyone else's fault, but it was just something I forgot. But to me, Leatherface was the Gimp in Pulp Fiction, right? So if you isolate that Gimp character out,
he was getting face-fucked by the fucking hitchhiker.
Yes. So the Gimp itself is kind of odd, kind of strange, kind of someone you don't want to run into. But what made that Gimp scene and the totality of the situation weird was the fact that he's locked up in the basement of a guns and ammo store with kind of like a weird I don't even know if you call him a redneck because I think it's
Jason
like
Lloyd,
isn't it?
It's Jason Lloyd.
And he's in the basement of a guns and ammo store with also a corrupt cop. So it's the totality of the situation, not just the game itself. And I think that's the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It wasn't just about Leatherface. It was, okay, yes, Leatherface is there and he's causing some carnage, but it was everything else about the strangeness of the family, the cannibalism, the near damn dead grandpa sucking the blood out of Sally's finger, the dinner scene. Like, that's what made that. Leatherface was one component to that.
Yep.
And I think and specifically when you say, oh, well, this is going to be a requel because we're basing it off the original because we really get what makes the original, that's what you're selling me. And this is not me bringing my bias into it. That's you telling me that you're doing a requel. You're doing this. But then when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, this is nothing. This is much more just a new modern take on it. So I don't know, like,
dude.
why are they selling that?
Marketing is lying. Marketers lie to us. Promoters lie to us. That's how they get our butts in the seats.
But I don't even think that was necessary. Because as you can see from online, there's plenty of people that were happy with just a Leatherface run amok sequel. So it's like, here's an example. What this trailer that just came out, Amityville in Space.
Right? Oh, I was about to bring that up. Yeah.
Did you watch that? Like, it doesn't look fantastic, but it looks like ridiculous, stupid, potential fun, right? Now, going into that movie, I would be dumb to expect anything else other than that based on what they just presented to me. So to me, that's like at least trying to be honest with what you're selling. You're selling like a ridiculous, stupid product. With the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, at least it seemed like there was effort behind it to like say, hey, this is, we're keeping the original in mind when we're making this one. And to me, like, other than the fact that you had Leatherface in it, and I guess in your, version of Texas, I think it was Bulgaria, right, that they filmed it in. But fair enough. They tried to make it like an old Western-ish looking place. That was fine. But you're trying to sell me on the fact that, like, oh, we're taking more into account the original and not like all these other ones did. Well, then yes, that's what I'm going to expect. That doesn't mean I'm going to think it's a good movie or a bad movie. But yeah, if you're telling me this, then I should go into it expecting somewhat that you're doing that, and that's not what you did. Now, all that in itself doesn't make it good or bad. But even if I put all that aside, I still thought it was a mediocre movie. But I understand why people that are happy with just a movie with Leatherface running around killing people, if that's all you really wanted out of it, I understand why it worked for you more than or when it didn't work for me. So folks, that's something for that I didn't bring up on Fresh Cuts.
Mike's last 5 to 10 minute diatribe perfectly explains why I stopped watching trailers 3 years ago. Mike had a certain expectation based on either the trailer or maybe something that he read going into it. I do not. Now, I'm not sitting here tooting my own horn and saying that I'm a better horror fan than Mike, not by any stretch. But I'm saying marketing lies. Trailers lie. They lie to our fucking face. That's why I stopped watching them. And maybe that's why, of the three of us on the show, I walked away the most positive on Texas Chainsaw. The other thing, which I'm sure we're going to get into a little bit more in the burning question, is the expectations. This is the 9th movie in a horror franchise. Let me repeat that. This is the 9th chapter of a horror franchise. What the fuck about that statement makes you think you're going to get a better movie? Yeah. I mean, do we already forget the lessons of Jason Goes to Hell and Puppet Master 9? I mean, this is what I'm talking about, how expectations infuriate me. When people walk out of a theater saying that movie was fucking garbage because for some reason they thought they were getting Texas Chainsaw 1974.2. And yes, I agree with Mike that maybe that's how it was marketed, but that's why I don't watch trailers.
Well, the trailer made me think it was going to be exactly what it was. The trailer looked like it was a Leatherface run amok movie, and that's why right off the bat I was like, okay, this doesn't seem to match what you guys were saying.
That's what I mean, what you guys were saying. So you obviously read that somewhere. I do not read promotional materials before going into a movie. I don't want to be biased in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, I'm not trying to say that I'm doing it right and everyone else is doing it wrong. Not at all. Everyone do it the way that you fucking want to do it. But the point is that I will be damned if I ever let a trailer mislead me ever again. If I ever let a piece of promotional material mislead me again, that will never happen. So, yeah, and again, the fact that I walked away from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 with a more positive outlook on it, maybe it's because I didn't watch the trailer. Maybe it's because I didn't read any materials. Or maybe it's because I'm a 40-plus year horror fan and that I know that the 9th chapter in a horror franchise is not going to be a winner. Like, ever.
but to me, you're just doing the same thing in the opposite. To me, I mean, that's just my opinion, is by you quantifying, why it should be, then that's almost...
Oh, and I'm not saying why it should be.
That's almost starting off with giving it an excuse not to be good and I don't expect it to be because it's the 9th.
Don't forget, I didn't say the movie was good. I never said Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 was good. I spent the entire episode talking about why it's not good. What I'm saying is I walked away with an enjoyable experience because I expect modern horror movies to have shitty, stupid, woke characters. I just expect it. And guess what? That's exactly what we got. And, even though I don't like when horror movies are filled with shitty characters just to be fodder for the killer, I found myself enjoying it here. I found myself enjoying watching these shitty people getting cut in half and having, body parts chainsawed off of them.
People getting decapitated and shit,
Yeah, it's a awesome. Rare thing. You guys know I love my cerebral horror more than most, but every now and again, I walk into a movie with just either no expectations or incredibly low expectations, which I try not to do that either, because I think you're doing just as much of a disservice if you go in with really low expectations as well. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, folks, don't do expectations, damn it. Even if it's your favorite franchise, even when Scream 6 comes out in 2024, just don't fucking, don't go in, yes, be excited. Yes, it's a new chapter of your favorite horror franchise. Awesome. It's fine to be excited, but don't expect that it's ever going to touch the original or the first few originals if we're up into double digits. I mean, the next Texas Chainsaw movie is going to be 10. We're into double digits now. Very few horror franchises have hit. It'll be in space or in the hood, one or the other. Take your pick.
Well, yeah, and that's why I was also gonna clarify. I think sometimes we're talking about two different things when we get in this conversation, because there's the expectations of it being good or bad, which I really don't have because you don't really know until you watch it. But then there's a separate expectations when you're telling me what kind of movie you're going to make, and then you don't make it. Now, you could put that on the viewer, but hey, that's you telling me that, not me telling me that.
Technically, you do that all the time when we talk about Marvel movies in the chats. I'm just saying.
Well, no. Okay.
Well, Mike just doesn't like Marvel movies.
No, Marvel movies.
But he hasn't seen any of the
well, I mean, you don't necessarily have to see something to know. I mean,
but the Marvel movies,
trailers, and
I'm not making a statement that they're bad. I'm just saying, I'm not making an absolute statement saying these are bad
whenever
movies.
we bring
I'm just
it up,
saying I have a disinterest.
Yeah,
but that's me messing around with you guys.
I don't care about romantic comedies. I don't care how good a romantic comedy is. It doesn't mean I'm ever going to watch it. So I totally understand Mike's point with either Marvel or Disney movies. They're not for him, and this is America, and he can hate whatever the hell he wants to hate. That's fine. I do remember
I don't even hate them. I'm just saying I'm just interested in watching them.
Sure, and that's fine. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. What I find problematic is that sometimes you'll make a comment about a movie that you've never seen, assuming that you're correct. Most recently, you did that with Free Guy, because it was the middle of the pandemic, and Free Guy was playing on 5 or 6 screens at your theater, and you were like, why the fuck is it? Why are they doing this? And the easy answer is that fucking movie is great. You never saw it, and that's fine. But you're commenting on a movie that you haven't seen. That's what gets me. I
Was
will
it really
never.
great though? Was it
It's
really
fucking
great?
great, dude. It's up there with Ready Player One. I fucking loved Free Guy, and I don't
Was
like
Ready
Ryan
Player
Reynolds.
One great though?
Ready Player One is a fucking masterpiece, and if you
Dude,
don't think
I'm just kidding. I
There's
haven't seen
fucking
it.
Mechagodzilla in it. You don't talk about that movie.
Mechagodzilla and The Shining in the same movie, yeah, 10 out of 10, my friend.
You know?
No, but it's true. I mean, you made that comment about Free Guy that day, and I had already seen it twice at that point. I think Derek had already seen it once, and we're both like, what the fuck are you talking about? That movie is great. You can't comment on movies because you think they look stupid. You can make the comment that you think it looks stupid. That's fine.
No, but see, now I got to remember what the context of the conversation overall, because was I asking about the number of screens because I didn't think the movie was worthy, or because I was asking, hey, let's get other movies on screens? I was asking, is the demand out there for it to be on that many screens? Maybe that's what I don't remember.
At the same time, it's a pandemic, and there's not really a whole lot of I mean, this was the middle of the pandemic when Free Guy came out. It was like late 2020. So I mean, with a lack of
maybe there's
selection
not
out
blockbusters being made. Well, see, that's the thing. I would have to go back and look, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But then again, was I just messing around with you guys, or was I being? Yeah,
So like I said, it's everyone
I'm not
is
saying you
entitled
hate
to their
every
opinion.
comic book movie because you just said that you enjoyed the Batman.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: the majority of comic movies I've seen, I don't dislike. That's the thing. It's just there was a certain point in the timeline of comic movies where the output of them became so heavy that I just personally started getting disinterested in watching them. But I never say, oh, those movies are bad. I just say I'm not interested.
Who says those movies are bad? Half the fucking Oscar-winning directors are like, because they're in the fucking theaters. And when I stopped listening to those news articles is when Roland Emmerich started complaining. I'm like, you shut the fuck up. You made Godzilla 98.
Well, yeah. I mean,
he's the last person that gets a voice on this conversation.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend like the director saying that they shouldn't be in theaters. Like, we would have to go like, line by line on their statements.
And the fucked up thing is, like, Martin
Scorsese.
Scorsese's fucking complaining about these movies. But he would fucking, Godzilla's and these B movies were like his favorite movies growing up. These are like the B movies of this era.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I agree. I would just have to look at the full statements and seeing are they complaining about comic book movies themselves? Are they complaining that it seems like that's all that people want to go see anymore because they take up such a big portion of the theater because that's all that will make money. That's all that's turning
like
profit.
The director of The Last Night, Ridley Scott, right? He got all pissed off because that movie flopped. But Shang-Chi made, $100 million in its opening weekend. The thing, I mean, ultimately, look, there's a market for movies, upscale artistic movies like The Last Night, Oscar-worthy cinema. But if you think a movie like The Last Night starring, what the fuck is his name?
Matt Damon.
And
Adam Driver.
Like, if you think that movie is going to make $100 million, then you're a fucking moron, Ridley Scott. And I fucking love Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott is a genius. I absolutely adore him. But if you're actually that surprised that Shang-Chi destroyed The Last Night, you don't know how the cinema works. You just don't. You can make a great movie, but you don't understand the marketing. Marvel is king right now. Marvel, Disney, Pixar, those are the studios that are making money right now. I'm not saying that other studios shouldn't make movies. No, not at all. There's a place for independent cinema, and even, for larger cinema like The Last Night, like The Green Knight even. The Green Knight is a movie that kind of failed at the theater, even though it's a visually stunning film based on an epic poem. But it's not, 10-year-olds aren't clamoring to go see The Green Knight. 10-year-olds aren't clamoring to go see The Power of the Dog, whatever the case may be. They want to see Marvel. They want to see Pixar. They want to see Disney. And it's an unfortunate truth of cinema right now that's what's making money, and it's unfortunate. But I mean, if you truly love and want to support something, then stop complaining and go out there. Go watch.
Well, But
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just
that's what
everyone.
I
I
was
was just
gonna
gonna say,
say.
everyone listening, keep in mind we're kind of having this conversation off the cuff. Like, I don't have all the statements by all the directors in front of us because
No,
I
not
didn't
at all.
know, and I'm trying to just piece together kind of what their sentiment was because I don't want to. The points you guys are bringing up are completely valid. I just don't want to reduce their statement to saying Marvel or comic movies suck. No one should see them because I
No, no,
don't
no.
think that's
None of the
necessarily what they were
directors said
saying.
that. No, no, not
Right?
at all. Martin
Exactly. To me,
Scorsese said that superhero movies, his exact words are that superhero movies are less cinema and more roller coaster. Yeah, he basically says that they're not cinema, they're not films, they are movies meant for entertainment, but what he does isn't in that vein. So he wasn't necessarily insulting. He was insulting Netflix movies though for a little while, where he
Until
was
he
saying
made
that
one.
Netflix movies shouldn't win Oscars because they don't play in theaters, which again is an absolute completely bullshit statement to make
yeah,
because
I would come down on the big
that's what I mean.
disagreement side on that.
So that's what I mean. All these
specific
directors,
statement.
they're making little statements, but none of them are stupid enough to say something derogatory against
Yeah.
Marvel or anything
I
like that.
mean,
So,
to kind of I try to look at these directors. I try to come down with a middle ground with their statements because I think, regardless of what their personal sentiments are, I don't even think they're dumb enough to suggest. Well, I wouldn't say they're dumb, period. So that's the
they
wrong
might
way to put it. I would say that I don't think they're suggesting that they don't realize why comic book movies make all the money they do. Like, take me, for example. If I'm going to go to a comic book movie, I'm most likely taking either my family or at least my kids. Right there, just based off that, they're going to make more revenue than like when I'm going alone to see something else. I think the more point is like, okay, sure, go take your kids to see a Marvel movie, whatever. But then, like the next week, why aren't you, as like 40-year-old person, going to see this other movie that has like, it's not that like the last night, and I'm not even saying that movie specific because I didn't see that one. You know, I didn't have huge interest in that one. But
yeah, exactly.
why are other movies just completely failing? I don't think anyone would think the last night's going to make money like a Marvel movie. That would just be ridiculous to suggest. But that's different than everything besides Marvel movies flopping, you know?
Yep.
I think that's kind of like the middle ground. Like, hey, I'm not saying don't go see comic book movies. There's good place for them. It's good family entertainment. There's no arguing that.
Yeah,
I think it's like, but then why aren't the adults seeing like the other stuff without the kids on the other weeks? I guess
that's a lot of money, man. Movies are like up to $25 on the weekend.
True.
Yeah.
Get yourself the AMC pass.
Studios got to understand. Yeah, get the AMC pass, especially if you want to go
Regal
see
pass for
Batman,
me.
where they're fucking. I mean, you guys heard about that, right? AMC charging extra for Batman tickets.
Oh, I saw that article. Like,
Yeah, that's dirty. To me, that's fucking dirty.
Well, it's just like, do you want people to stop
sell.
going to the theaters or what? It's just
That's
ridiculous.
right? It seems counterproductive. It's like it's the biggest movie of the month coming out. Why would you charge more? I understand why they would, because they're money grubbing bastards. But I mean, why would you be so public about your money grubbingness? You know, it's
not only that, but it's like, okay, so should like lower budget movies be lesser price? Because I know you're not going to do that. So like, where's the balance? Where's the balance to charging extra for like the popular demand movies?
Yep.
I still wouldn't like the fact that they're charging extra, but at least if you're going to balance it, then you could maybe give the justification of like, okay, well, we're going to reduce the price for these like one screen movies that'll only be here for a couple of weeks to encourage people to come see those, you know.
The Cursed. The Cursed.
Yeah.
It's already gone in theaters. I was planning on seeing it today, literally. And it's gone. None of the theaters are showing it. So it got a 2-week run.
It was mostly well-reviewed from what I saw.
It got Thanos snapped.
Yeah, exactly. It fucking dusted. It got dusted out of the theaters.
Mike has no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he knows.
I know enough about that. Yeah, I know the reference.
You don't have to see Jaws to know that there's a shark in it.
You do.
Speaking of that, speaking of Jaws, I just did upgrade to get the 4K.
Oh, yeah, me too. I got that last summer. Wow, this Texas Chainsaw Massacre mini review turned into a half-hour fucking rant.
A Marvel, yeah.
Yeah.
How did we get to Marvel?
It was kind of like the burning question I was going to ask, but because I was like, well, if Derek saves Texas Chainsaw for the last round, then maybe it'll seamlessly transition right into the burning question. But since you brought it up first, I'm like, well, there we go.
We don't do seamless transitions on this show. Come on.
No,
How long have you been
I like to start chaos early. Get it out of the way.
Yeah. Let's just say goodnight now. That's chaos.
This isn't Mike's picks, though, Venom.
Oh, that's true. No, okay, fuck it. We're staying. Oh, man.
Right.
So, I guess the long and the short of it is there's not really going to be a correct review of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. It's really going to be up to the individual. You know, if you're going to have any kind of expectations whatsoever, you're going to be disappointed. If you've listened to multiple reviews and you still haven't watched it, then hopefully you understand that it's really a shut off your brain and just enjoy the gore type movie. You know
what I learned from this?
What's that?
I learned that Mike's #1 movie is going to be Amityville in Space.
Oh, guaranteed.
Well,
he's all excited about the trailer.
A few years ago, when they made that Leatherface movie, right? That was Leatherface. I watched it, but I don't know why I can't remember a lot from it. But that was Leatherface focused, right? Like a prequel almost, wasn't it supposed to be?
Yeah, that was the origin story of
Stephen Dorff, playing bad guy.
Yeah, and to me, it's like, okay, the fact that you're naming the movie Leatherface, you're kind of like being up front, like this is going to be Leatherface focused. I'm like, build on, if you want to make future installments that are Leatherface anchored by that character, then start calling him Leatherface. Just make Leatherface movies.
You know what?
But even that last Leatherface movie still had an element of the family in there. It wasn't like the new one that's literally a standalone Leatherface movie.
Yeah, the thing that sucks about these like newer ones and like because they can't use Chop Top because he's owned by MGM and it's fucking bullshit.
Oh, that sucks. You would think that the rights aren't that expensive. I mean, these are billion-dollar studios. It's like, dude, buy the rights.
Because I would like to see like Bill Moseley come back as fucking Chop Top for one.
It's not a matter of the money. It's a matter of if they're willing to sell.
Yeah,
I don't know that I'd want to sell the character either.
Because MGM's fucking very stingy with that shit. Because they do a lot of. Because I was actually listening to the Hysteria Continues recently, and they just did a. Well, it's actually going to be the next movie I talk about. They did a commentary for the movie Creature. And it was owned by like Orion/MGM, and they made them sign an agreement that they would actually cut their commentary.
Well, yeah, it's funny because it's like Rob Zombie's been wanting to make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie since the beginning, and he's kind of like danced around making it with he's very similar.
He's done it with he done it with the remake of fucking Halloween,
basically. And then that movie, that new Ty West one coming out, it's like part Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So it's like people are kind of dancing around making it, but it's out there.
Trailer Park Maya's. Fuck you, you fucking clown faggot. I'm William Forsythe. Fuck you. Fuck you. I fucking hate that movie so much.
Oh, God. All right. Well, I guess thanks for that pick, Derek. That sent us into a frenzy of a topic.
Fuck you, Michael. Fuck you, you fucking clown faggot. Fuck you.
So I watched a movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2020. No, just kidding. I don't know. What do I got first? Well, considering how long ago this episode was originally going to record, I have written down that I finally finished Midnight Mass. So I think this is when we were going to record it in December.
Dude,
but yeah.
Dude, didn't it end exactly like How the Grinch Stole Christmas? La, 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 la.
Yeah, that show was probably...
Who's in Whoville we're singing.
That was as good as any movie I saw last year, I think.
Yes.
Midnight Mass was just amazing.
If we did a top 10 of just horror content, not just horror movies, that would have been in my top 10 by far.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah, and I like the way, it questions religion, but it doesn't mock it in any way. Like, it takes it very serious. It treats it as a sacred thing in that community. It just shows, like, how it can be manipulated and justified to do things, right? I'll leave it at that for anyone that hasn't seen it.
This show is great because it got me to watch extended scenes of in-church gospel, and I enjoyed every fucking second of it. And that's a hard thing because religion pretty much just sickens me for the most part. But yeah, every minute of that series was just amazing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. And plus, that lady who played the evil nun lady, she's a fucking she gives fucking Miss Harmony a run for her fucking money.
Yeah, that's true. Very valid.
Yeah, and she's almost like less on the nose about it too, like because she's good at kind of concealing like the kind of bad intentions behind her stuff, and that could just be the fact that since it's I think it was 6 episodes, right? Since it's a more long, drawn out story, there's not as much, urgency to reveal her like evilness, I guess, as in a 90-minute movie. So,
yeah, I'm excited.
That is an advantage of telling a story in that medium, is you can really flesh out characters when the story, justifies it. Because I think in the Midnight Mass's case, it did justify being longer than just a movie.
I'm excited for fucking House of Usher now, man.
Yeah, me too.
Franklin Jeller and Mark Hamill in the same series.
Flanagan is he's batting 1,000 on his TV series, and really you could make the argument he's batting 1,000 on movies too. Though some of his early ones may be a little bit more questionable, but yeah, I mean, as far as his TV stuff goes, it can't be denied. The man is flawless thus far.
Yeah, and Midnight Mass. Yeah, and I think Midnight Mass to me might be like where he took that next level of the type of material he's covering, like, or adapting. And I don't know, man. I just found it to be like multi-layered fucking greatness. I don't know how else to put it. Like,
yeah, my series of the year, definitely.
Just the whole scene with Katie Siegel's explaining how she dies and shit is like fucking. Yeah. Spoiler alert.
God, the end of episode 3 or 4 on the lake. Holy shit.
Yeah.
And the way that they let Katie Siegel's crying play throughout the rest of the closing credits, that episode is like, to me, the high point of the series. And that closing credits, just listening to her cry, holy shit. Fucking, yeah, emotional gut punch times 1,000.
My favorite scene is the scene with the paraplegic lady when she confronts the fucking guy that shot her.
Oh, that is also an incredibly heavy scene. Holy shit. Yeah, very valid.
Yeah, that was an emotional punch right there.
Yeah.
Because it's like everything she's I wouldn't even call it a rant, but everything she's confronting him with, it feels justified. But then the way she pulls that rug out at the end of the confrontation and how it affects him almost is what really drives it home.
It's true.
Yeah. I remember like fucking Bo talking about when he did a show on it, and he's just talking about that scene. He's like, "Oh, he got man tears."
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. I will not deny that.
All right. Well, since Midnight Mass is, was way over.
At least we can agree on something for once.
So, yeah,
it's all bad.
So I'll just throw another one in on this round. It's not even a horror movie, but hey, Jackass Forever. The only thing I'll say is if you're afraid of lots of dicks on the screen, yeah, you might be scared of this one.
That was way I ever wanted to see in one movie.
Was there a lot? I didn't see it. I didn't see it, but is there a lot of shitting in it?
No,
actually not.
Oh, there's one. I think there's one. What do you call it? Porta potty blow up or something. But that's it.
No, because Dave England, he does a lot of things with his asshole where he just shits. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't need to see this.
Yeah. They did do a good thing. Yeah, they did a good thing at the end where they showed how some of their modern like pranks and stunts are like evolved versions of like stuff they did when they had lower budget. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's like the majority of the Jackass crew is about to hit like 50, so this definitely had the feeling of like either we're handing it off or we're just done because our bodies can't take this
coming soon
anymore.
Viva la Bam, the movie.
It was a nice close to the franchise because they're absolutely positively not doing any more. I mean, I've heard rumors that they were going to bring in a whole younger crew. Like it wouldn't be like Knoxville would be like producing it, not actually performing. Yeah. But I've been hearing about that for years, and that's never come to fruition.
Fuck it. He can still do bad grandpa movies. Hey, Damn, you're.
I don't want to see that man die on screen. I'm so terrified that he's just gonna land on his head one day.
Dude,
Yeah,
he survived so much fucking bullshit. It was just crazy. He broke his dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem you have bringing in a new crew is it kind of
It's gonna feel fake.
Well, it will feel fake, and it kind of brushes aside the fact that part of the reason why you've grown to love Jackass is the personalities themselves. It feels like there's genuine friendships, there's genuine concern for each other. Yeah, it's like
this one's
three different factions.
No, yep.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this one felt a little odd to me without Ryan and Bam. Yeah, obviously, Ryan passed away and Bam is dealing with his drug troubles. But yeah, I mean, they were two big members of the team that I was fans of, especially Bam. All the shit that he did with his parents, it was absolutely great. Yeah. So without Bam and Ryan, it felt a little less Jackass, but it's still absolutely.
And all the additional crew he has too. Like
and I did like the guys. Yeah, I did like the new crew. They were entertaining.
Yeah, it just feels like now Bam. Why is they're not going to show Bam's parents, of course, because why would they?
Well, that's why it makes me like I'm hoping that somehow there can be a reconciliation, because Bam did film stuff, and for a snippet he's in the movie. Yeah, because they're already talking about, because with all the other ones they did like the later release of like the whatever number 0.5 where it was like additional footage.
Sure. Yep.
So there is more footage with Bam and hopefully more of Bam's crew in it. So hopefully we'll see that in the future, because he's in a snippet of that marching band stunt just because there was probably no way they could edit that sliver out and have it make sense. But other than that, yeah, he's not in it, and it's pretty glaring because he's such a big part of it. But that's something we'll have to see. It's kind of out of our hands, but yeah, that's I guess the non-horror portion of what we watch. But I'll kick it back to Venom if you got something else.
I got one more that I watched this week that would still fall into our broad categories here. And I haven't talked about Wings Hauser in like 2 months, and I can't go that long without talking about Wings Hauser, of course. So, of course, I'm bringing in 1984's Mutant, also known as Night Shadows.
With Bo Hopkins, too.
Yeah, Bo Hopkins in there, Lee Montgomery, Jennifer Warren. This is actually a pretty decent little cast. But yeah, Wings Hauser. For those who've never seen it, Wings plays one of two brothers who go to a small town in the South, but the members of this town are being infected by some kind of toxic waste, kind of turning them into zombie type characters, or flat out zombies, if you will. Obviously it's from 84. It's Wings Hauser. It's low budget. You kind of know what you're in for, but my God, is this movie just entertaining to me on so many levels. Some of the line deliveries in this movie are ridiculous. The fight scene in the bar, one of the worst fight scenes ever set to film. The zombies themselves, how they look. This movie was made to be a Mystery Science Theater movie. I don't think they ever actually did this, but yeah, holy shit. What else can I say about this movie without giving away too much about the story and the ending? It's a movie that's available on Tubi currently for free. So if you've got a Tubi subscription, not that you even need a subscription, you could log in as a guest. But if you can get your hands on Tubi, yeah, Mutant. An hour and 40 minutes, like I said, 1984, toxic waste zombies. If it sounds fun, which it always does to me, I would say check it out. And obviously curb your expectations. This isn't Alien by any stretch of the imagination. But it's still, like I said, it's Wings Hauser. It's fun. It's over the top. It's silly. Enjoy.
Yeah, the poster art for that movie was so misleading, too.
Yeah, I remember the poster being really cool for that movie. Wasn't it like a shadowy blue thing?
Yeah, it was a shadowy monster on it.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
And it's not even in the movie.
No, definitely not. But yeah, folks, 1984's Mutant, or Mutant, if you want to pronounce it correctly.
Mutant, aka it was later remade as Nightmare at Noon.
That's right.
Also starring Wings Hauser and Bo Hoskins.
Oh God, Wingshauser. Anyway, yeah, that's it for me, Mike.
All right. Let's. I know. I have not seen it. That's why I didn't chime in at all.
Oh no, I wouldn't
but
expect to have seen it. It's like I
it's-
said, very low budget, silly movie, but I still recommend it. It's silly.
Yeah, I own it on Blu-ray.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Okay. Let's go back to you, Derek. What do you got?
Yeah, I watched the movie from 1970 called Play Misty for Me.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood.
Yes.
Directorial debut. The way I would describe it, it's more thriller, but it's pretty fucking rad. It's kind of like an early version of like Fatal Attraction in a way, where Clint Eastwood plays like a disc jockey, and he ends up meeting this woman who he finds out is the same woman that calls him every night to play a song, Play Misty for Me. And he ends up having an affair with this woman because he's kind of down and out with his girlfriend. And he finds out this woman's been kind of stalking him, and it turns deadly where she's might kill him. That's all I'll give away. So, yeah, it's pretty great. Great cast. Eastwood's great in it. I love the cameo by his mentor, Don Siegel, who, of course, directed Eastwood in a few different movies, including like The Beguiled and Two Mules for Sister Sarah. He's also the director of the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He plays a bartender. It's a pretty great scene. Yeah, I just enjoyed it for what it was. And it's 70s is all hell, and I love like the montage scenes of just Eastwood driving, or like this music playing to his job or wherever he goes. It's so weird that he actually has a portrait of himself inside of his house, though.
I wish I did.
Yeah, but it's great if you're a fan of Clint Eastwood and you've never seen it and you want to see something a little bit different, than his like usual like dirty, hairy stuff. This was pretty great.
Yeah, no, this is Play Misty for Me is a definitely underappreciated classic. Great slasher movie, has giallo vibes to it, like heavy giallo vibes. Great performance from Clint Eastwood. And isn't it weird how this movie's over 50 years old and Clint Eastwood still looks like he's 80 in this movie?
Yeah.
I think he was born an old man. Clint Eastwood, he was born a cowboy and then one day just woke up as an old man, and that was it.
He's starting to look like an alien from fucking Fire in the Sky.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
It's like fucking... it's like fucking when Kirk Douglas was on stage at the Oscars when he was like 100. I'm like, fucking get off the stage. Fucking, he started to look like
that was
fucking,
almost painful.
He looked like fucking.
I thought he was gonna.
He looked like fucking Mason Verger from Hannibal.
I thought he was gonna die right on stage.
Yeah,
it's a terrible joke to make, but goddamn, don't drag 100-year-old guys on stage for fuck's sake.
Fucking Kirk Douglas is Mumra from fucking Thundercats.
Like towards the end, like during the last year of Stan Lee's life, when I was still seeing him constantly at conventions, I'm like, does he really want to do that, or is somebody like making him? Because why does a 94-year-old man who's probably met every comic book fan in the world at this point still want to go? I mean, obviously he loves what he does, so he wants to do it, but I would see him up there. And Tim Curry is another one. Like Tim Curry, for those who don't know, had a stroke a few years ago.
Yeah, I feel.
And he's wheelchair bound. He still makes appearances. He can't even talk. Like he doesn't speak. He mumbles. He has like a handler with him who will translate if he ends up saying something to the fan. But he can barely shake hands. It's more. I mean, it's more sad. I obviously
He's doing
I'm thankful.
Like during the pandemic too. It's like fucking crazy.
That's what I mean. You're dragging these sick older men out in the middle of a pandemic to do these shows. It's like, what, I'm sure the fans appreciate it, but Jesus, I also appreciate Tim Curry knowing he's alive. I don't want to hear that shitty news that he, catches COVID or something stupid because he went to a convention. So
it's like fucking when Return to Nukem High Part 1 came out, and then when Return to Nukem High Part 2 didn't come out for like years later, and then half the cast was fucking dead. Like Lemmy and Stan Lee were in it, and fucking Cool Duder was in it, but he was fat Cool Duder still.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, I would be the same way probably if I was some sort of celebrity. I'd probably want to go out, but at like in my 90s or over 100, I'd probably still want to go out and meet the fans. But hopefully, I'd like to think that I have someone who cares about me, who maybe will control me and say, look, there's a pandemic going on. Maybe let's not go to California this week. Something like that. I don't know, but obviously Stan Lee is his own man. Kirk Douglas, Tim Curry, all the examples that we gave. It just, I'm not saying I don't want to see them out there. It's great to still see them, but if it means they'll stay with us a little bit longer if they stay home, I'd rather they stay home.
Hell, I remember when fucking Carly was going to a convention with JP and they fucking saw Meatloaf there, and fucking 3 months later, fucking dead. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, that sucks. That's one I never got to meet. He was at a show I went to in Pittsburgh once, but I wasn't that big a fan at the time. Being the heavy metal dick that I was, I didn't really care. But yeah, it's definitely a regret that I didn't at least go say hello. I did meet Lemmy though, so at least I got that one. And Theo and Lemmy, those are bucket list items for me. So I was happy there.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it odd how like certain conventions, they'll just be like the most random people. Like I remember there was one local convention here, and I didn't see the entire list ahead of time, so I walk into like the main floor, and like the first person set up there with a booth is the guy who played the dad in Teen Wolf, and I was like, okay,
you definitely want to get his autograph.
It was just weird because it's like, I'm sure there are people out there that want to get his stuff for whatever reason. Right? But what's that?
The girl with the iron from Halloween Kills is definitely going to be at conventions.
Oh, God.
The girl with the what? The iron.
Yeah.
That's funny. I want to do Tivoli cosplay this year. I want to be Tivoli. I'm not going to jump out a window though. But yeah,
Oswald Cobblepot.
Yeah, pretty close actually. Yeah.
I'm going to jump out the building.
Oh my God, what happened to this episode? We apologize now, folks. I'm not even drunk.
I'm a little baked, but that's about it. Maybe that's what's wrong.
Well, for like a standard round, I watched a movie on Netflix called Level 16. Have you seen this?
No.
This was kind of like just a background movie to watch while I'm finishing off the day at work. The basic setup, it doesn't take you very long to realize basically what's happening. Of course, like there's certain details you find out later in the movie, but the movie starts up where it's a bunch of young ladies, like teenagers, all female, living in some type of facility that you assume is like a sort of dystopian future. We're not talking Mad Max level, but there's obviously something going on where they're being raised there from being born. And at a certain point, they just kind of disappear for certain reasons. And then you learn, oh, hey, there's wealthy people involved. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't take you very long to put together, oh, they're obviously being used for something. It's not all on the level. They're obviously being lied to. And, I won't spoil how it turns out, but I don't think anyone watching this would be very surprised by what gets revealed. As far as the movie itself, it's okay. I mean, it's something to throw on, I guess, when you don't have much to watch. And I kind of like to do that when if I'm working and I want to watch something, I try to avoid things I'm, highly looking forward to or something that I have to pay attention to 100% because that's no way to watch, most things. So this was like a good candidate for kind of a background watch. Would I recommend it? I don't know. There's many similar movies like this that cover the same subject or same, I guess, subtext going on. But it was okay. I would say a very middle of the road movie, and that's level 16.
So it was solid.
I wouldn't even go that far with this one. It's just kind of
it's moist,
there, I guess. Yeah, it's up getting there, I guess. Did anyone see No Exit on Hulu?
No.
I think No Exit was Hulu. More thriller than
Is that the one with
anything.
the Allstate guy? Allstate. We're all stuck in this building.
It might be. Oh yeah, it is. It is actually. Now that you did that impersonation, I'm like, I was trying to put the voice together. I'm like, oh yeah, it is that guy.
Yeah, and that's why it's funny because they're all stuck in the middle of nowhere. It would have been hilarious if like, let's call Allstate.
Yeah, this one definitely more thriller than horror. It's okay. Story, there's some twists that happen, but it's nothing you got to run out and see. So I'll just. Yeah, well, there's also that new movie called Fresh that I thought that one was pretty good. But the thing is, it's 2-hour running time, and it's about a good 45 minutes until like we get the horror stuff. So there's going to be people right off the bat that are like, "What's going on? Why am I still watching this?" And then all of a sudden, oh, okay, here we go. There's some good gore in it, good motivations for I wouldn't say good motivations, but you understand, okay, why this guy's doing this. It actually reminds me of a lower budget movie that me and Venom covered a couple years ago, but I feel like I can't really say the title of the movie because that gives away too much of what's going on. And once you see the movie, you'd understand what I'm saying. But
was it Freddy Got Fingered?
Oh, that movie! Everything reminds me of that movie.
Oh, but, wait, if it's a movie me and Mike covered, it has to be Maniac Farmer. Maniac Farmer, my favorite movie of 2018.
Yes, is the TACM 2020.
Oh, yeah. Well, as opposed to
that movie gave me a hemorrhoid from your review.
Fresh is one I would actually recommend though, so I would tell people to watch Fresh. Yeah, the main reason I brought that one up because we were considering for Fresh Cuts, but we went with Hellbender for our new one episode coming up instead. So I was like, okay, I'll bring this one up here then.
Yeah, I prefer witches.
Witches and bitches, yo.
Word.
All right.
What's next?
Venom, you have anything left?
Unless you want to talk about the Simpsons episodes that I've watched over the last month. Otherwise, nah.
Are they random?
I did watch a couple of Treehouse of Horrors.
Catching up?
What? No, what catch up? There's no such thing as a Simpsons episode I've never seen.
Oh yeah, so you're pretty much up on
I just watch it. That's like my Twin Peaks and The Simpsons are like my default. I don't know what to watch, so I'm just going to throw on one of these. Because I don't.
Speaking of Simpsons. Speaking of Simpsons, have you ever seen that YouTube channel called Dark Simpsons?
I've watched a lot of Dark Simpsons videos, so I don't know that I've been on the channel specifically, but I've probably seen some of their content.
Yeah, basically where they take like different episodes and clip them together to create darker, like kind of dark comedic storylines out of it.
Oh, it's kind of like that thing where they make trailers, the movies, and make them like horror movies, like full of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fucking kill you, Jenna.
Yeah, that's yep. It's pretty much along those lines, but yeah, the Dark Simpsons YouTube channel is pretty funny.
Nice.
Derek, do you have anything left? Oh, okay.
Not really, unless you want to talk about me watching reruns of Law and Order SVU.
Woo! Simpsons and Law and Order all day.
Ding,
Let's
ding.
start a podcast, Eric.
Dun, 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 dun.
Ooh, if we could do a mashup of those two theme songs, podcast is already making itself.
My favorite version of that Law and Order theme, though, is Organized Crime.
I've never watched Law and Order in my life, so I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I know the show. I know the show, and I do recognize the song because it's so popular. But I've never watched an episode.
Watched an episode in my life either. I mean, I know what it is. Obviously,
I've never watched an episode of CSI. I think I did watch an episode of Criminal Minds once, and that was pretty good. I'm sure they're all good. It's just I don't really watch a lot of crime drama on TV, if any. It's not really my thing. I'm immature, folks. I watch cartoons and porn. That's it.
The good thing about those kind of shows, though, they usually don't have like a revolving story, and you could just dig into any episode and not have to watch the whole series through and through.
Yeah, exactly. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I would. That's the kind of show that I would probably jump in every now and then. But like I said, I don't know. Like even like a couple of years ago, I got really, really heavy into true crime. And even that over the last couple of years, like I barely listen to any true crime podcasts or YouTube videos anymore. I'm a creature of not habit, but what's the term, like flavor of the week. I'll really get into something for like a year and then completely abandon it.
Yeah, but it's just funny, like how they just guest star the guest stars of these episodes of the show where they're playing like rapists and shit. Like, Michael Gross? Burt Gummer is a rapist?
Michael Gross kind of comes off a little rapey.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as Venom, as far as your like podcasting listening and how it's like kind of shifts and molds, like I find like in recent years, especially, and maybe it's because I've been working from home and because I have more options of my entertainment, but my podcast listening, at least as far as horror podcasts and maybe movie podcasts go, in the last year or so, it's really started to skew towards, okay, what have I watched recently or what's new? Okay, I want to find every show that's just talking about that and like hear everyone's opinion on it and then move on to like listening to something else.
Oh, wait, I forgot I did have something else because I mentioned it earlier. I watched the Blu-ray Creature from 1985.
Oh, the Peter Benchley one?
No, the William Malone Alien ripoff.
Oh, the Bill Malone one. All right. Nice.
Yeah.
And
what
is your Blu-ray review?
It's pretty great because it's the best the movie's looked, because pretty much this movie was obscure for so long. You could watch it on YouTube and like different shitty copies. And even like there was a DVD on Amazon. It was like a bootleg. But yeah, this movie is interesting. It has a very weird cast because it has fucking the head of like the space crew's fucking Ferris Bueller's dad. Like legitimately from Ferris Bueller's Day Off is the guy who played his dad in that movie. And
funny.
And then all of a sudden, because when they get to the planet, they find out like there was a Russian spaceship that crashed too, and they find the Russian survivor, and he's played by Klaus Kinski. And he's just rapey as all fuck because, like legitimately, like there's a scene where they're talking to Klaus Kinski, and he's like rapey eating a cheeseburger. It's like the great. And then later on, like the security lady is played by Diane Salinger, who you probably remember. She played the Penguin's mom in Batman Returns in that opening, and she was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. There's a scene where Klaus Kinski grabs her ass in the movie, and she's like, "Hey, don't do that. You and me are gonna be good friends." Klaus Kinski's like one of those actors where it's more, like when those things you hear about him on screen, like not on screen, are even as interesting as you don't when you see him on screen. And it's fucking crazy, and it has some good creature effects. It might be a movie that we might cover later on our other show, Venom. But yeah, it's got some good head explosions, gore. The alien looks pretty different than a xenomorph. It's kind of cheesier because it's a lower budget movie, of course. But actually, ironically enough, a lot of the people that worked on Creature actually went on to work on Aliens the next year. So it's kind of crazy in that sense. So, yeah, they did good with what they had. They went on to do other movies and other They're doing the sequel to the movie they were ripping off. Pretty much, it's kind of funny.
Cool, man. I need to get on that one too because it sounds amazing.
Hell yeah, Klaus Kinski raping people in space.
Yeah, and now I've just ruined it by saying that sounds amazing. Okay, so I guess for my final round, I'll just bring up two things really quick. One is a new show on Epix Network, which I didn't know Epix was making original content, but I guess that's like the way to go about things.
Yeah, they have
subscribers, but they were doing
They have that Godfather in Harlem show that's pretty good.
Oh, nice.
With Forrest Whitaker, it's pretty good.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, they were a few weeks ago when the show premiered. They were doing a free preview weekend, and they made like the first 3 episodes available. And it's called From, a one-word title. It's kind of a mix of Lost and, if everyone remembers, Wayward Pines. At least the first season, Wayward. The second one is
the one with Matt Dillon,
good.
The Matt Dillon season, right?
Yeah, the show that Fox basically fucked because they filmed it like 2 years before they aired it. So then. And they didn't think it was going to be a hit, and then they finally just throw it on in like mid-season dump just to be like, well, we got to put it out there, and everyone ended up liking it, and then they're like, oh shit, we got to do a second season. Oh, everyone from the first season's commit things, so let's just kind of do a completely different story that's semi-related but all new cast, and predictably
they
it wasn't
did the same
nearly
thing
as
with
good.
The Exorcist. Oh, by the way, I did watch the first season of The Exorcist finally too.
Oh, how'd you like it?
It was pretty good. There's some slow parts to it, I thought, but I thought when they got into the meat of the story, they had some good jump scares and some good possession scenes and shit like that. And I kind of like the twist. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting either because I thought it was even pretty good leading up to that, not even really needing that twist, but it was good. I like the way they weaved it in there.
Yeah. And I know, like it seems like similar. Like I heard the second season's different, kind of like Wayward Pines.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely they take the story to like a whole new setting with all new people. I still think it's like they made something better than they managed to do with Wayward Pines season 2. The problem is with Exorcist season 2, it looked like they were almost resetting up a new foundation for the future, but because it ended, it felt incomplete.
By the way, I did love the twist that Gina Davis was fucking her character from The Fly.
Yeah, that was funny.
And
shit.
And she's like,
be afraid. Be very afraid.
Yeah, she's like, I gave birth to a worm baby, and I pretended to be dead, and I escaped.
Not bad. Brundle.
All right.
Let's go past it.
The other thing I was going to bring up was actually a video game I was playing.
Jesus, how much shit do you watch?
Jesus Christ, Mike.
Well, this is a video game that other people are watching, I guess, if they watch my Twitch once in a while. But I was looking for like a really kind of like low grade, old school type game because my laptop is not really equipped to be a gaming PC. But I was tired of just streaming off PS4 on Twitch because when you stream straight off a console, at least with a PlayStation, unfortunately, you don't. There's not much customization. You can't really do anything. It's just you hit stream and it kind of throws your feed up on your Twitch. So I was like, well, I want to be able to, build the channel at least somewhat, but I can't play anything modern. So there's this game I found on Steam for $3 called Vampire Survivors, and the graphics are pretty much like Nintendo era 8-bit, and all the controls are basically just navigating through hordes and hordes of enemies, but it's really fun. It could almost be classified as like a time waster game where just hordes and hordes come after you. You have to survive 30 minutes and then you technically beat the level. It's a rogue game where it's like the name of the game is basically unlock crazy amounts of stuff, crazy amounts of weapons, levels, characters, all that. But it's pretty fun, and it's only $3 on Steam. So if you're into like those types of games, I would recommend that. And then Yeah, once in a while I stream. So sometimes I post a link to that. Yeah, I cross the streams into the world of Twitch. That's where it sent me when I crossed the streams.
Gross.
But other than that, that's all I really got for what I watch. I know I watched more stuff, but I just don't think I didn't write it all down. So, I guess we can go right into news, which even that I don't have much of. I wrote down the Carpenter thing about the sequel, but the problem with that is if you actually read the article, it's like, oh, someone asked him and he gave the usual sure. Yeah, I'd love to response, and that's all there is to it. So don't get your hopes up about a sequel to the thing, at least like based on Carpenter himself making it. And the thing is like, yeah, but what if he produced it? Well, who cares? That just means he's selling the rights to put his name on it. That doesn't mean anything necessarily. And the only other thing I had, and this is like kind of I guess newer, is I guess Fede Alvarez is making an Alien movie. And Fede Alvarez is, I don't know, to me Fede Alvarez is kind of like a polarizing figure because some people love all of his stuff, some people don't like it. Me, I'm kind of middle ground on him. But the article I read like right before we started recording is saying that this would have it would not have an attachment to like the original franchise, and I don't know what it's like. Does that mean it would be like an entire reboot that just happens to have xenomorphs in it? Does it, it's like there's just so many with the way things work now. It's like I never really understand what they're trying to tell us half the time.
TCM 2022 with aliens.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know, man.
He did produce that. He did produce that movie.
Yeah, he did. His name was on it, and that's like another case of like I don't like how much was he really involved in it. I don't know. I don't know what his producer credit means in this case. But it says, Alvarez's take is being kept deep inside the studio's chest, but sources describe it as unconnected to the previous movies. I'm like, well, okay, so I guess that means that the bare minimum xenomorphs will be in it. I assume they'll be somewhat similar design, although, each Alien movie, they did modifications on the design, so I wouldn't be surprised at that, but...
it'd be amazing if it's a crossover with Don't Breathe, where the Don't Breathe guy just fights xenomorphs.
Okay, if he's fighting xenomorphs and having success, he is not one. Then. I'm sorry, but and he's been lying through the first two movies, which would be I guess a twist in itself. Hey guys, I was never really blind.
Oh god!
But yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see on this one. I mean, do you have an appetite for another Alien movie? Really? Do you?
I mean, a good one, yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's like another case of like a franchise that's, I don't know. It's weird because do we call Prometheus part of the Alien franchise, even though it's
it's in the same universe?
100%. Yes, it is part of the Alien franchise.
Yeah, it is.
Because I actually think Prometheus is good. It's just that
yeah. And the studio kind of fucked him on Alien Covenant, though, when they we got to have aliens in this movie.
Well, that's the thing. It's like even Prometheus, it felt like there was a little pressure to put more of it in there towards the end than maybe they originally wanted to, but I still thought it was overall a really good movie. I liked the themes it was trying to explore.
I seen a girl give birth to a squid in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I like the whole origin of life and like what and how it's like. Yeah, you may get an answer that you don't.
And they had like a stingray face hugger that was fucking terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they definitely threw in that last scene to say, "Look, see, we told you there'd be alien in this."
And then the giant dudes from Resident Evil were in there for some weird reason.
Yeah, and then once Covenant came out, it was just like, okay, now they're basically admitting that, like, yeah, we just want you to make more movies.
And then they try to half-ass explain that spoiler alert for Alien Covenant. David created the aliens. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, we're also getting a new Predator movie, right, called Prey, coming out.
Yeah.
I'm more curious on that because it's supposed to be like a timepiece where predators are in like Native Americans. Could be interesting. It's different. It can't be as bad as the fucking last one.
Well, it will definitely be interesting. I mean, it's hard to even ask these questions until we see it, but I really want to see them go back to the aspect of the Predator kind of doing like the greatest game on like people, you know, because that's what it seemed like. Obviously, the first one's like legendary action movie, but I like the fact that the Predators as a species, like, yes, they were killing, but it wasn't just into. Well, I guess where you fall morally, I guess maybe they were, you know, doing it as like a hunter's thing. Like, let's find the greatest humans we can find and
then
go up against
them. Then Predator 2 is like a canon movie, but it has like this fucking great ending where like after he kills the Predator, that fucking ending happens. You're like, whoa, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, I love the disposition of, you know, jungle in the original and concrete jungle in part 2. I thought it was a good way to put it in a different setting. But then, you know, after that, to me, it kind of strayed from that idea. So I'm wondering with Prey, because like the thing is, like, an unarmed human in theory should have no chance against a predator or whatever the hell you would call that species. But we'll see, like with Native Americans, because obviously if that's the era they're tackling, they have weapons. They're just a little more primitive.
I just want these 3 people to be in the movie. I want Adam Beach, Graham Greene, and Wes Studi all in the same movie. Do it.
Well, it remains to be seen if you get your wish. But yeah, like to me, like the Predator taking on a Native American guy should be using like laser guided like RPGs or missiles or whatever the thing on his shoulder is, if the Native American guy tops out at like a bow and arrow and tomahawk. So it'll be interesting to see how they tackle it, if they even are going for that aspect. I don't
either that or I want fucking another crossover where the Predator fights Trent Williams as the substitute.
Treat Williams, oh god. Not even Tom Berenger from their first one.
Hey, I love fucking Substitute 2 is my jam with BD Wong as the bad guy.
Good morning, class. Oh, but that's all the news I had. Do you guys have any news?
We're gonna make a Trent Williams appreciation podcast, Mike. That's the news.
We're gonna do that.
Yeah, it's gonna be the next No More Room in Hell presents.
Oh god.
You and me just reviewed Treat Williams movies. The first one will be The Phantom. I need those skulls right now.
God.
I need those skulls.
Count me out.
You're in it, Venom.
Oh man. All right. Well, like I said, yeah, I'm out of news. I really didn't have a bunch of news that.
But then we do a crossover. Yeah, then we do a crossover where we do Deep Rises. It'll be a Creature Comforts and Trent Williams presents.
Trent Williams presents. Man, maybe I should start drinking. I think I'm too.
You guys got any news items?
Huh? I have no news.
I said
I've seen a lot of news. I just haven't had a chance to. I was busy earlier.
Back to your point, though, Mike, about predators and dealing with Native Americans. The thing that you're underestimating is home turf means a lot. Look at how much trouble Russia's having with the Ukraine right now, because people will defend their homes to the death. And especially since they're more familiar with their homes. I mean, obviously, Predator is an alien species. So unless he's doing a reconnaissance from outer space, he knows nothing about the area. So I would say the Native Americans will probably be plenty prepared, assuming the Predators stick with the rules of, not over what's the word I'm looking for? Like not bringing a gun to a knife fight, basically.
Yeah. That's.
I mean, because he took on the original Predator took on Arnold hand to hand, no weapons. So I can see that being premise. But yeah, definitely never underestimate home field advantage in any kind of like altercation, any kind of war or attack type thing. Yeah, home field advantage really does matter.
Yeah, it'd be like Apocalypto meets Predator.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. That might actually work.
Yeah.
The only thing that could make Apocalypto watchable would be a Predator.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree. Like I'm not saying like I didn't mean to make it seem like Native Americans have no chance. More just if they because I don't even really know a lot of details about it. Maybe purposely, like they're not revealing much about it.
All I've seen was the poster, and I'm like, I'm in. That's all I need.
Yeah, the poster does look cool. But yeah, it would be. It is an interesting dynamic though, because if you by obviously the Predator coming out when it did in that era, we already obviously had heavy artillery to use against him. But if we're talking a period piece back when weapons were more primitive themselves, then to be fair about it, like the Predator shouldn't be using like missiles that he can fire at these guys from like yards away.
Like it would be interesting if they didn't have the laser cannons and they just use spears.
Oh, that would be kind of cool. Yeah,
period. You never know.
Predators.
Yeah,
I'd be down.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they've been around really
who's the best warrior? You have to kind of be level head.
Because we know from the ending of Predator 2 that they've been around for fucking years. Because he gives them that musket that's fucking from like 1726.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, because you can even add that dynamic. You can even build on that ending of Predator 2 to say, yeah, we through the whatever. I was gonna say through the sands of time. God, like days of our lives.
Dude.
Since we've been doing this for so long, we're gonna match kind of like what era of mankind is in. We revisit Earth every so often to say, okay, they've had an evolution in their weaponry, so let's see if we can match up against that now.
Yeah, I mean, because all we're saying is the ending of Predator 2 is fucking amazing.
Yes, I would.
I think Predator 2 is very underrated.
Yeah,
I would concur. Okay, well, if we're out of news, and we kind of already did our running question, I guess. I mean, unless there was anything you wanted to add to it, but I think we went through pretty much what I was going to bring up after the fact.
But by the way, did you know that Robert Englund is going to play a Predator in the Predator movie?
No, he's going to play a xenomorph in Alien vs. Predator 3.
Yes.
He's going to play both.
There's going to be a Freddy Predator and a Freddy Xenomorph.
He's going to play the Xenomorph and the Predator that the Xenomorph dreams about when he goes to sleep.
Welcome to space, bitch.
Yeah.
That's right. Let's take a break before I go delirious.
Yeah, we will be back to discuss a couple movies I don't even think Venom mentioned.
Nope. Did you? It's a secret. It's a tight secret.
It's super secret probation.
Well, obviously, as we mentioned earlier, this was supposed to be our February episode, so obviously, I like to keep themes going, so we tried to have a kind of a. I wanted to think of a creature, that maybe has bad luck at love. I mean, obviously, werewolves and things like that. But I decided to go with vampires, and we're going to look at a couple of vampires trying to deal with love type situations. So we're looking at Thirst from 2009, and we are looking at an Iranian vampire film from 2015 called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. And I guess Mike will play a trailer or two now, and we'll be back with our feature reviews.
I want those skulls.
I was going to say, you know me so well.
It's almost like I listen to the show.
Bye-bye. We'll be right back, and I want those skulls after we come back.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go! And now, on with the show.
All right, folks, we are back. This is Mr. Venom. I'm going to be driving the bus here for a little bit because, as we mentioned before the break, these were my selections for February. So we are going to start out with 2009's Thirst from South Korea, directed by Park Chan-wook, who you may recognize as the director of what? The Host, the Vengeance trilogy, right, Derek?
He did not do The Host.
Oh, no, not The Host. I'm sorry. The Vengeance trilogy.
He did Stoker.
That's right.
The Handmaiden, Joint JSA.
There you go. Yeah, so Park Chan-wook directing, and our synopsis is as follows. Through a failed medical experiment, a priest is stricken with vampirism and is forced to abandon his ascetic ways. And those who don't know what ascetic means, it's basically abstaining from everything, abstaining from drugs, alcohol, sex, love, blah, blah, blah. So basically, just saying he's a priest should have been enough, but there you go. I picked this one because this is a movie I've seen a few times. Absolutely love this movie. I genuinely love this movie. But before we get into my general thoughts, let's go ahead and let's start with Derek today. Derek, as you are my Asian cinema friend, what do you think of Thirst?
I love Thirst. The thing that it's a very simple vampire story in general because it doesn't, like with a lot of like the Asian vampire movies that came before, like they're mostly like the Hong Kong stuff is mostly what was driving the vampire, like the hopping vampires and shit like that. Mm-hmm. So it's a very like Eastern take on vampires still, but it adds its own uniqueness to it where I like how, every time he doesn't drink blood, he gets stricken with the virus that he was infected with.
Yep.
Again, and that's a unique take on it. And, it has like the vampire tropes that a lot of other movies have, like, where they could see like the veins and stuff when they're feeling the hunger, and stuff like that. And man, this movie, like typical Park Chan-wook, he usually has some weird steamy sex scenes in his movies. And this there was some ass eating involved in that sex scene. There totally was, and didn't show it, but there was. Yeah, it was hot and heavy, and the two main leads, fantastic. Kang Ho-sung, which I can see why Venom would say Park Chan maybe confused that he did direct The Host, because this guy's in every Bong Joon-ho movie ever, like The Host, Parasite. He's even in Snowpiercer.
Yeah, Memories of Murder.
Yeah. He's in, but he's also in a lot of Park Chan-wook movies too. Like he's in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and he has a smaller like cameo role in Lady Vengeance. But he's a fantastic actor. He's and Kim Ok-ben, who plays the main female lead. I honestly only know her from one other movie, and it's the movie The Villainess from a few years ago. And that movie is fucking awesome. If you are a fan of like South Korean action movies, that movie is on another level because it has this great opening where it's all first person from her perspective, and she's just fucking killing everybody. And that's a great movie, and they're both fucking great, and I love where the story goes. And the ending of the movie is bittersweet because he finds out about that he can't have everything that he wanted, and this woman is going to stop unless he does something about it, so he has to make the ultimate sacrifice for both of them. And it's a unique movie. It has some oddball characters too, like the older priest that he talks to that wants to become a vampire, which is a very interesting aspect of the movie. But then we also have like the mother-in-law of the main female character, who's fucking odd in sense, and But Yeah, it has some oddball moments, which you get with a lot of like Asian cinema. But overall, it's a typical vampire movie that plays by the rules, and it's fantastic. It's great visual, stunning to look at, and has a haunting score. And I love the scenes of like when he's learning to like jump onto buildings and shit. It's fucking great.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I'm going to come in here now since this was my pick. As I mentioned earlier, this is not a first-time watch for me. I've seen this at least 2 or 3 times before this, and every time I watch it, I love it more and more. I mean, this is a movie that's 2 hours and 15 minutes and absolutely doesn't feel it to me. To me, it feels like a solid hour 45, maybe. Like I barely noticed that, over 2 hours went by watching this. Stellar performances by just about everyone in the film. Derek mentioned the mother-in-law, who's just an absolute great foil for our, antagonist / protagonist. I mean, this is a weird movie because we are following 2 main characters, but to call them protagonists would be a little bit of a misnomer since they are kind of the ones perpetrating all the evil in this movie. This is a very emotional vampire movie. Like I love this relationship that they have, even though, this sweet little girl that he thought would take to vampirism a little bit better, went off the deep end and, wanted to be that badass, blood-sucking, human-killing vampire, from ages past. And it totally makes sense. I mean, someone who's, this is a little petite South Korean woman. She was adopted by that family, basically married into that family, marrying the son. A son who basically has massive health issues and is constantly needing nursing and everything else. So you do feel bad for her, and it does make sense that once she gets that little bit of power, that little bit of, I can actually, hold something over other people, it kind of goes to her head, and she just goes, basically headlong into embracing the vampire mystique. I love that because, you can see the heartbreak on our priest, our main character's face as this is happening. And he knows it. He recognizes it long before he actually voices it in the movie. It voices any concern with the way that she's acting, because, he obviously he's a priest. He came from a very subdued lifestyle, very quiet to himself. And it seems like he wants to continue that after, his mishap at the hospital that basically made him a vampire. You can tell that he's trying to lead a quiet life. He's trying to drink blood quietly from, either people that don't have to die or at least are pieces of shit. So yeah, I mean, you could tell that this guy really, really wanted to try to, change the lore of vampires, that they're not just blood-sucking monsters. But then in comes the love of his life, who is already a married woman. So, I mean, we already see the priest kind of walking farther and farther away from, the path of God, with falling in love with a, taken woman, dreaming about having sex with her, and then actually having sex with her in a goddamn hospital next to a comatose person. I mean, yeah, he's strayed about as far from the path as one can stray without actually killing. Because, I mean, at this point in the film, he still very strictly doesn't really want to kill unless it's absolutely necessary. So, it's a heartbreaking film. But visually, this movie is stunning. I think the cinematography is some of the nicest I've seen come out of South Korea. And that's saying a lot because South Korean cinematography is pretty stellar in itself. But yeah, the rooftop shots of these vampires bouncing from rooftop to rooftop, basically very similar to the wire fu that we see in like a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon type movie. Wu Ping style wire fighting, but to see them bouncing from rooftop to rooftop, it's like it was magical and beautiful all at once. Like the way that it had kind of like an ethereal score playing in the background as they're bouncing from rooftop to rooftop, and just the way it's shot, it just looks gorgeous. I was so impressed with it the first time I saw it, and then every time I've seen it since then, it just strikes me more and more every time. And this ending, this last like 10 minutes is some of my favorite final minutes of a vampire movie ever. I absolutely love this. This movie's still fairly new, so I don't think we really should get into major spoilers, but let's just say the final scene of the film, our two vampires have very different ideas of how they want to move forward, and it basically turns into a back and forth, not really a battle, kind of a battle, but just more of a struggle, I think would be a better way to put it. Just a struggle.
It's a fight for survival.
It really is. It really, without actually physically fighting, it's a struggle for survival for one of them. Whereas one of them makes, a very hard decision that he or she feels needs to be made, and the other one is very against it. And then just the way it ends, that the final couple of shots, it gets me every time. I wouldn't say man tears are shed necessarily, but it is, a little bit of a gut punch of an ending, because it's like, here's this little priest, never bothered anybody, tried not to ever hurt people, wanted to live a quiet life. And just because he wanted to make the love of his life a vampire as well, and it just comes back to bite him. No pun intended. And that's just heartbreaking to me, because I'm a married man. I'm long time married. And yes, if by some freak of nature I became a vampire, my first thought would be to make my wife one. And if she, did what this woman in this movie does, I would probably do the same thing as our priest does. But it would be heartbreaking. It would be absolutely heartbreaking that the woman I love, once turned into a vampire, is just a completely different person. It's no longer the person that I fell in love with. It's this bloodthirsty monster that must be stopped. So, the emotionality of this movie just is right. It's like I said, it's one of the most emotional vampire movies out there. American, Korean, or otherwise, just stellar performances, great score, great cinematography. There's really nothing negative I can say about this film. It's just absolutely stellar. I adore it. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I just wanted to mention something without giving away what really happens in the end. Mm-hmm. We actually mentioned Midnight Mass earlier, and I feel like Mike Flanagan watched this movie and kind of took some of the elements of the ending of this and put it in the ending of Midnight Mass.
Actually, you can make that argument. Absolutely. That's funny. I hadn't actually made that connection as I'm watching the movie this time around, but now that you pointed out, yeah, definitely. There are definite similarities there. Very cool. All right, Mike, come on in. What'd you think of Thirst?
Thirst is amazing. I thought it from the first time I saw it, way back when it first released. Well, I guess it's not way back, but, what is it, about a decade now?
Yeah, to a millennial, 12 years is a long time.
Well, that's me, year one millennial.
Yeah.
I guess I'm called an elder millennial now. I love that my age officially qualifies for elder these days, but
Gandalf. hell, fucking Zach said you look like Harvey Feinstein.
Oh, that's mean.
Oh my God, cool. David.
That's funny.
Yeah, look, so I think this movie has a lot going for it. I love the subtext here. I love the different ways in which people act once they become vampires, showing that it's not, becoming a vampire is not just a universal thing where everyone's going to be the same type of vampire. A lot of times it allows you to act out in ways that you would have if you had the power to, or it might corrupt your sensibilities. Either way, I love the way the main character of the Doctor kind of is really trying to navigate his own humanity once he gets turned, and he's kind of realizing everything going on around him more, and ultimately the decision he makes at the end of the movie. I think he's not, well, shit. I guess it's hard to even get into that without spoiling. But I think he realizes certain things about what it means to be a vampire, as far as like is this sustainable? How do you be a good vampire ultimately, really? And it's a question I don't think he has good answers for, which brings us to the end of the movie. But I love the characters in this. I love how it explores. There's some really just individual great brutal scenes, but this movie is so much more than those scenes, and that's what I really like about it. It's like when it needs to kind of throw that at you, it does it. It doesn't hold back when it shouldn't, but that's not all there is, and that's not all the movie provides. It's a great effort from start to finish, and I agree it's a long movie, but it doesn't feel like it because of how the story progresses.
Well, because 25 minutes of it is just that sex scene, and just on.
Damn. I even have in my notes here how the at points in this movie the pacing is breakneck. I mean, for a movie that's over 2 hours, there's small chunks of the movie where a lot happens, a lot of plot development, a lot of story. And, you almost need like a slower moment to breathe. Like you almost need that sex scene so that you can kind of, okay, nothing's going to happen while they're having sex. I can relax.
Grunt.
Yeah. A lot of grunting, a lot of nudity. The first on-screen male penis as opposed to a female penis. But yeah, the first on-screen penis in a South Korean movie.
Park Chan-wook has to outdo himself because Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is the first movie where it's a sex scene with no dialogue because the main character of that movie's death.
Right.
So they're doing sign language while they're fucking.
Sexy.
Yeah, and later on, Stoker, this American movie, fucking Mia, whatever the fuck her last name is, it's like a tongue twister. Fucking, she's just fingering herself in the tub. And then later, when he comes back to Korea and does The Handmaiden, he's like, "Fuck you, let's just do anal beads, yo."
The man knows what he wants.
He knows how to keep me interested.
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie offers a little bit for everyone. I mean, there's going to be the people that just, I guess, won't get into the longer running time or just the story character aspects of it. But I thought that all that stuff was great and made the movie as good as it was. That's the kind of stuff I love in movies. So. Yeah.
There was a lot of really subtle things that I liked about this movie. Derek mentioned one earlier where whenever the priest would feed on blood, his sores would disappear. I love that effect. I just it was really subtle. It didn't take a whole lot of CG to pull that off. But when you're actually looking at the shot and you see him drink and then slowly the boils start to just disappear from his face, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's a nice touch because everyone thinks, oh, if you don't feed, you just fucking. No, this fucking, if he doesn't feed, the virus comes back and fucks him up. I like that. The thing I like about it, because, spoiler alert, a few people get turned and they end up getting the virus too because he has it. So they end up getting those side effects too. So they have to feed too.
Exactly. He didn't realize he was passing on more than the vampire virus when he's sharing his blood. But another heartbreaking factors of this movie. So yeah, man, what else? I thought the scene. I thought. What are we looking here? Oh, armpit licking. Yes, armpit licking. How could you be against a movie with armpit licking? Come on.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
A new fetish highlighted.
There's totally a fucking deleted scene where they're just eating ass.
Yeah.
Because I remember when Bo and Duncan fucking reviewed this movie on Hero, and he's like, Bo's like, there's definitely was some ass licking in this movie.
Oh, guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed. Goddamn. And the weird
have extreme taste.
Exactly. This movie has the weirdest three-way scene I've ever seen, where our two protagonists and her dead husband somehow are having a three-way. I mean, I know it's a dream sequence, but holy shit, that was the weirdest fucking thing.
Oh yeah, that's one of those scenes where it's like horrifying what's happening, but you can't help but kind of laugh at the way it's presented.
It's it's almost funny because the guy is laughing, the dead guy, the dead husband. He's like laughing while he's sitting there tag teaming his wife. It just really comes off so odd. Very not erotic.
It's like the giant ant scene in Old Boy out of nowhere. Like, what the fuck?
Yes. Yeah, it definitely throws you for a loop. Like, what the fuck? I mean, I think I understand the symbolism of it. But yeah, because they're always going to be stuck with him. They murdered him together, so obviously.
Yeah, he has a lot of what the fuck scene. Like in Lady Vengeance, there's a scene where it's like a dude's head on a dog, and it's like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, so I mean, a great director for head scratching scenes. Stuff that'll really leave you. Fucked up a little bit, or at least, questioning what the hell you just watch. Yeah, the mom, the mother-in-law, I mean, holy shit that I enjoy. I think I enjoyed her character more after she had her little condition and stopped talking.
Yeah, it was great acting.
That was, I mean, she was literally acting with only her eyes. The only part of her face that she could really contort while supposedly being in some kind of, not literally comatose state, but, a mute state where she's not really speaking or moving much. But what she's able to do with just her eyes is amazing. I was in awe. I mean, obviously, as a viewer of the film, we know what's going on. But the way that she's able to express thoughts and ideas to like other people in the movie who don't know what's going on, and successfully too, I just thought that worked out really, really well. And like I said, that character totally worked for me. I even like the way that they used her in the final scene where she's just in the backseat of the car, kind of forced to watch these two vampires kind of go at it. I thought that was kind of pretty cool. Hopefully somebody finds her and she doesn't sit in that car for too terribly long, but who knows? The movie just kind of abruptly ends right there. So, but yeah, just I love the use of her. As I've already said, just all the different cool little things that they've done. So we get a couple of cool neck snaps when the dad of the family kind of dies. He gets this great little neck snap. I do admit that the movie, the pacing of the movie starts to slow down ever so slightly in the third act, and I mean just a little. Nothing major, nothing that anybody would really complain about, but it is something that I wrote down in my notes, so I thought it was worth bringing up that, towards the beginning of the third act, it does kind of slow down ever so slightly, but not really, not enough to affect the movie in any negative way anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then what the hell was up? There is one scene of this movie that I don't really grasp, and maybe Derek or Mike can help me out with, but why did he try to rape that homeless girl? Like, I didn't understand that scene. When they go to, like, the encampment with all the homeless people, and he just goes into that girl's tent and just starts assaulting her. Like, that was a weird scene to me. Like, I'm sure there's symbolism there that I'm not catching, or some kind of metaphor.
Was he a vampire already?
Oh yeah, this is much later in the movie. He had already turned his girl into a vampire.
Because to be fair, I watched this movie 2 weeks ago, so it's kind of
exactly. Me too.
Some details are kind of stealthy in my head.
Basically, I mean, it's after he's already turned his girl. It's the night of the party. Remember when they killed everybody at the party except for Evelyn? The priest spared Evelyn. That night, they kind of run off, and then for some reason, he stops the car. He sees like a homeless encampment. And then he goes and just assaults, like sexually tries to anyway, because he does get thwarted by the other people. The girl starts screaming, and all the homeless people around them in the encampment hear her. They instantly come to her aid, and they basically pull the priest off of her. And then he just, walks away while he's putting his clothes back on. Like, that entire scene left me scratching my head.
It kind of reminds me of something like Bram Stoker's Dracula, where Dracula, when he's blood hungry and, he just fed, he gets a little bit hornier.
Sure. Like
when he's like turned into Wolf Dracula and he just straight up rapes Lucy on that Stonehenge, which is the what the fuck scene of that movie.
I mean, I found it really weird that he literally, I mean, it had only been a couple of days since he turned the love of his life into a vampire. And here he is basically cheating on her, but she's there. Like, she's in the car with him. And I mean, she's not there at the encampment. He kind of runs off by himself and goes over there to where the homeless people are. I don't know, that entire scene. I mean, if that's all it is, if it's because he did just feed, they just killed all those people at the party.
Yeah.
So obviously, yes, all three of them, or excuse me, both of them have fed heavily this evening. So if that's the case, cool. I wish they would have done something in the movie to kind of explain that maybe his inhibitions are harder to fight when he's just fed, when he's like, just drunk, a blood drunk, I guess would be the word.
Yeah, and also to be fair for this movie, there's a lot of time jumps that we don't even know how many days have passed since she has turned, in that sense too, where, she was in that room and, we kind of see the creation like of a vampire again, which does kind of make the movie slow down a bit because we already seen all this in the fucking beginning of the movie,
Yeah,
in that sense.
Absolutely.
And and plus he was getting kind of annoyed with her because she did lie about some aspects of what the husband was doing, and it kind of fucked. So it could be a bunch of things that are all together.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that he took a little bit too long to make the decision that he finally made at the end of the film, because it like to the viewer of the movie, the girl goes crazy almost instantly. Like she goes full on vampire almost right away. Like at first she argues and fights. Why did you do this to me? Blah, blah, blah. But then once she kind of realizes how it feels, she just goes headlong into being a vampire. And it felt like he let her live longer than he should have. You know what I mean? Like, especially because she ends up taking out that whole family, basically. And it's like, why would you allow her to do that and still not take her out? Like there was something. Obviously, love is a crazy thing, and it's not like it's easy for a man to kill the love of his life just because she's a little crazy. But man, that it definitely felt like it took him a while to make the decision that he ends up making. So, but not again, a minor gripe that does not affect the enjoyment of this movie whatsoever. But overall, yeah, I mean, this movie may not have the action of the Vengeance series, but it has all of the heart, all of the emotion, all of the twists and turns. It is an absolute classic Park Chan-wook movie, and I can't recommend it enough. As I've already said.
Yeah, and other than like a character as a vampire, multiple vampires, I guess, in the movie, it definitely feels like watching a new take, something unique on it. It doesn't feel like, oh, it's another in the long lines of a Dracula movie. No, it really focuses a story and the characters to me and the conflicts, the humanity aspect of it, and losing one's humanity kind of, and not fully, knowing what aspects to embrace of the new vampirism and all that. I love all of that.
Yeah.
Yep. No, it really is a great film. I mean, and this is a film that has gotten a lot of word of mouth. I mean, when it first came, I didn't watch it right away when it first came out, but as soon as I started hearing websites and different YouTubers that I follow talking about how great it was, I jumped on it. And yeah, I mean, everything that's been said about this movie in a positive light is 100% correct. It's near flawless. I mean, not that I have any ideas on improving it. It's not quite a 10 out of 10, but it's about as close as you can get without being a 10 out of 10. I love this film, and I can watch it anytime. I think if you're a vampire fan but you're only concentrating on like American and British vampire movies, yeah, you're doing yourself a disservice. There's a lot of great Asian vampire movies out there, and this is just, this is one of the highlights, really, but there's so many out there worth watching that you got to check them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, high recommend from me. All right. If we are done with Thirst, which it sounds like we are, we can move on to our next film. That is going to be 2015, at least in America, 2015, 2014 in Iran. But the 2015 American Iranian release, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. A little bit of a long title, but I do kind of dig it. We're going to get it really artistic with this one, folks. Whereas Thirst was visceral, bloody, maybe not action-packed, but we did have some, vampire action in there. We're going with the complete opposite with this one. This one's going to be the metaphor-filled, artistic. Obviously, if anybody knows about this film, it's in black and white, even though it is from 2015. So, it has some really stark cinematography. The synopsis for this film is as follows. In the Iranian ghost town of Bad City, a place that reeks of death and loneliness, the townspeople are unaware they are being stalked by a lonesome vampire. And, what's funny is that there's no vampire in this movie for a good 10, 15 minutes. Like, we don't actually meet our titular vampire until a little bit later. We spend the first part of our film with Arash, who is a young man just trying to survive in this world. He lives with his dad, who is a drug addict, a very heavy drug addict, and basically dad owes a lot of money to this particular drug dealer. I think they just I forgot what the drug dealer's name was, but just this kind of actually the drug dealer looks like the lead singer of Die Antwoord. You guys know that South African hip hop band?
Yeah, Chappie.
He looks exactly like him. I couldn't get over it. He almost sounds like him too. Holy shit! I for a minute I thought it was him, but this dude's Iranian. That other guy's what, an Aussie, right? Oh, no, South African.
South African, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I was struck by how much alike he looked, but yeah. It's like I said, for the first 5, 10, 15 minutes, we're kind of spending it with Arash, and as he's going through dealing with his father's drug addiction, dealing with the fact that his father owes this drug dealer a lot of money. The drug dealer eventually takes Arash's car, which is like a really nice sports car convertible that Arash had saved up like for years to buy this car, and the drug dealer literally just takes it from him. Arash is obviously kind of a quiet, standoffish kind of guy. He's not in your face. He's not particularly big, blah, blah, blah. Just like a really, average kid trying to work, trying to, mind his own business. But of course, dad is fucking everything up. And as we find out much later in the film, dad actually fucks things up even worse than we even know at this point, but we'll get to that. So let's go ahead and bring Mike in. Mike, was this a first-time watch for you? And what did you think of A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night?
Absolutely not a first-time watch. I remember when I had first heard about this because they released like the teaser trailer. I think the entirety of the teaser trailer was the scene where the vampire is like, I think, walking down the street at night, like what, perpendicular or parallel to that other character, kind of when they're walking, the vampire starts walking, stops, kind of like that little tension scene. I believe that was the whole teaser trailer. So right off that alone, I was kind of interested to see what this was going to be all about. And yeah, I definitely agree. This is more on the artsy side of the genre. But for me, I guess the positive aspect of that, and I guess it depends on what the individual thought the first time they saw it, but it's a movie that, for me, gets better each time I watch it. Before watching it for this show, I actually watched it because I believe for the summer series last year, it was on the list. And I was I've always been a fan of it, but I like it more now. I think when you're dealing with like the metaphors and the subtext in this one, multiple watches kind of help bring it together and make it a more solid story and motivation. It really seems like the vampire in this is kind of punishing like bad behaving men in that region. Something I brought up I want to say the last, because we've done vampire themed episodes like a handful of times now, but I know when we did, I think the White Deer, when we brought up that one, is I made the point, and it totally qualifies for this movie too. I like when you get a movie out of a region of the world that takes something and really personalizes it to like their experience growing up or the region of the world they live in. And I think this movie does that perfectly well. Like this could never, this is not like Transylvania Dracula, but in this region of the world. No, it feels very Middle East. You have the backdrop of like it's in the kind of like desert climate, obviously being Iran, but there's also like oil fields. It looks like a place that's kind of been devastated by industrial revolution to some extent, and everyone's just kind of like trying to deal with that. You have a lot of interesting different characters, some that at the beginning you might think are going to be around longer than they ultimately end up being there. And I just think I think on a first time watch it might be hard to put together exactly what's going on, because it can feel like it's jumping from one thing to the next because of the way some characters get introduced and they're kind of interesting and then they're like gone all of a sudden. But I think that's where multiple watches come in and you start to put together what's going on with the vampire, what the motivation is, what they're kind of doing in the city, in the region. And I like it. I like the way it goes. And something I find hilarious, which is coincidental, is the director Anna Liliamapor is attached to a remake of Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Like, how the hell did she like that? It just seems so random. But there's the thing. Would I be interested in a Cliffhanger remake necessarily? No, but the fact that she's directing it, now I'm kind of like, well, what is she going to do with Cliffhanger?
That'd be like if Ari Aster was like directed Die Hard remake.
Exactly. Yeah, but I guess for my opening thoughts on it, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I am a fan of this one.
Nice. Derek, come on in. What do you think of this one?
Oh, this movie's beautiful. It's a very beautiful movie. This is my jam because, for one thing, this is like a hidden spaghetti western, like in the setting and scope in a town called Bad City.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can tell this director is a fan of a lot of stuff. Even the soundtrack sounds like something Ennio Morricone would compose.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. The soundtrack, I love the soundtrack to this movie. I love that this vampire is a skateboarder because it's like out of nowhere. Like the first time I watched it, I was like, what? This is cool. You know, it's just a visual. The performances of Sheila Van and Arash Amarni as Oshra, they're pretty great. And like all the minor characters are like characters you'd see in like a Western movie, like the junkie, the fucking prostitute, the pimp, the princess. They all have nicknames. Like, It's cool, you know, in that sense. And the weird thing, the thing that's very interesting in this movie's actually shot in America.
Yep, California, baby.
Yeah. So that's even crazier because they made it feel like foreign when it was even filmed in like a place in America, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so cool in that sense. And big shout out, Elijah Wood's actually a producer of this movie.
Yes.
Yeah, because Spectre Visions is one of his production company released this movie. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this movie just kept me very interested. I actually owned the first release by Kino Lorber, which came with a graphic novel, which was sort of like a prequel.
Yep.
Which was very cool. It's a very cool release. Ironically, both these movies were released by Kino that we're reviewing today. So shout out to Kino for putting these movies out on Blu-ray. They look fantastic. And yeah, I love this one too. It's a very different, unique take, and it's just beautiful. Actually, ironically enough, I was listening earlier this year, Baz Oween happened, and Baz watched this movie for the first time, and he gave it a perfect score, which is odd for Baz.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with it, honestly. I mean, what would you take points off for?
You know, but you know how Baz reviews movies too on that
Valid,
show.
yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was kind of shocking too that he gave it like a 5 out of 5 because usually like other movies would be like, yeah, it's a fucking 2. You know.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, believe it or not, this was a first-time watch. I haven't actually seen A Girl Walks Home Alone before, but I did watch it twice this week, or over the last 2 weeks, because I fucking loved it. Yeah, this movie, I mean, Derek said it best. This movie is beautiful. This movie is absolutely gorgeous. the stark cinematography with the black and white backdrop, and just like Derek said, the fact that it's shot in California. Yet I still 100% agree with Mike's statement that this filmmaker, the fact that it is an Iranian filmmaker, gives it that Middle Eastern feel, despite the fact that it's shot in California. I also like the fact that the director, I don't know if anybody's ever seen a picture of this director. She actually looks like the girl.
Yeah.
She looks a little bit like the girl.
Yeah,
so much so that she actually shot the skateboarding scene.
Yeah, I was going to say that. That's freaking nuts, right?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And yeah, I mean, this girl is she is oddly cute. Like it's weird because in certain angles she looks like just plain Jane, nothing special. But then from another angle, suddenly she gets really cute. It's weird.
Are we talking about the girl?
The vampire. Yeah, the girl. I'm talking about
Sheila Van. Yeah.
Yep, Sheila Van. Exactly. Like she's an oddly attractive woman. Like she doesn't ooze sexiness or anything like that, but. Like I said, there are certain scenes in this film where, she's just standing there and you're kind of struck by how cute she actually comes off. So, kudos there for the casting. Because, you don't want, it's easy to just get like, some hot 10 to be, a vampire, a female vampire who's taking out bad guys. But, to have a more quote unquote normal looking girl, if you will, I thought that was really cool casting. I love the cat in this movie. I think the cat is great.
Yeah.
The cat kind of plays against type because, as most of us longtime horror fans know, animals in general don't like vampires. We've all seen not Skinwalker. Yeah, damn it.
Terminator.
No, the cat movie, the cat vampire movie. Damn it, that shitty fucking.
Sleepwalkers?
No, was it Sleepwalkers?
Yeah, the incest cat movie.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah, like, movies like that always kind of show off that felines don't like vampires. But in this movie, our little cat, Masuka, actually loves this girl, like embraces her instantly. Literally, in one scene in this movie, our vampire who's in the credits is just the girl, which I also love. I love the fact that they don't actually name her. And even though Arash does ask her multiple times in the movie what her name is, she never relents and tells him her name. So I just I dig that kind of mystery of it all. The fact that the fact that she kills the cat's owner and then instantly the cat embraces her, I just thought that was a really cool, different thing to do. It's easy to just have the cat be scared of her and run away or whatever, but obviously they needed that for a plot point because the fact that, we see there's a backstory to this cat that literally starts all the way back in the first scene of the film. Yeah. So when Arash sees the cat in the girl's apartment, he pretty much instantly knows what happened without actually giving it away here. He knows that cat doesn't belong there. He knows where that cat does belong. And yet he handles it so well. Like, he doesn't snap. He doesn't make it incredibly obvious that he recognizes the cat. He kind of plays it really well, which kind of leads us to the final scene of the film, which is it's a very quiet, very subdued scene, but there's a lot going on there because Arash is kind of making his decision on what he's going to do. They're leaving the city, and then Arash kind of pulls over, almost like he's having second thoughts. He keeps looking back at the cat. He realizes what this girl did, and he's kind of just making the decision, well, do I stay with her anyway? Do I go back to my hometown and just go back to my shitty existence? It's a pretty heavy scene, even though it's just silent. It's just quiet. Literally, they're just sitting in the front seat of a car. And then, bam, we get credits, which I know would probably upset a lot of horror fans. Like, a lot of horror fans might look at this as not much of an ending. I'm going to disagree with that. I think this is a perfect ending for this film. Very open-ended. I think they do. I think we do actually see them drive away right before the credits start. So Arash does kind of make his decision, which is, of course, to stay with the girl and kind of start a life with her. But I just love that this, vampire movie that actually does have a little bit of blood, not much. I mean, it's not a visceral. I wouldn't call it a visceral horror film, but it's more about the themes that they're exploring, and like I said, just the beautiful filmmaking between the cinematography and the score and everything else. But yeah, this movie is just an overall triumph. This is another movie that I would probably say is about as close to a 10 out of 10 as it could be. I don't know that I would actually give it a 10 if we rated these movies, but it would be pretty damn close, about, somewhere in the 9.5, 9.75 range. Because, I mean, there's really nothing to nitpick about this movie. Obviously, if the movie doesn't work for you, if you're not a fan of slower horror films that are more metaphor-driven and less action-driven, then yeah, you're not going to like this movie as much. But I mean, if you're a cinephile and you appreciate great filmmaking, there's almost nothing to complain about here. It's not a particularly long movie, right? How long was this movie?
Just an hour and 41.
Yeah, compared to the 2 hours and 15 minutes we spent with Thirst, that's a nice quick little runtime. And like I said, considering this isn't the most action-packed vampire film or the most visceral, the shorter runtime kind of works out better for this, even though it is an artistic film and those tend to run a little bit longer. I think this one kind of nails it with its runtime. I have no issues with its pacing. I mean, it's slow throughout the entire thing, but the movie establishes that early. Within the first 10 minutes of the movie, you kind of know what you're in for. It's more of a character-driven, slower story, more dramatic than anything else. You're probably not going to get a whole lot of horror. Hell, I honestly didn't think we'd see fangs in this movie. But we do eventually. She does eventually expose her fangs, and what's a pretty cool looking scene. Yeah. She's got the retractable fangs thing, which I always appreciate. I like the retractable fangs. I've always been a fan. But yeah, like I said, I can see why. Who was it? Bo, you said gave this a 10 out of 10.
No, Baz.
Yes, Baz. Absolutely. I can't disagree with them. Like I said, I don't know that I would give it a 10. I might. If I'm in a really, really good mood, I might give it a 10. But like I said, it's about as close as it can get to without actually being one. So, I'm really happy with the choices I made for this week's movies, because they're both just gorgeous movies and they're both incredibly entertaining for different reasons. But I think most horror fans would gravitate to at least one of these films. I think most would probably go towards Thirst, since it is, bloodier and more action-packed. But, man, if you're into art house cinema, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night should not be missed. I don't know that it's something that I'm going to return to a lot, but it's definitely something that I will watch again, more to appreciate its subtle filmmaking brilliance, that's displayed throughout the film.
I just wanted to add, because I missed in my general thoughts, but you guys have both mentioned it. Soundtrack or score, amazing. If you're looking to give your movie some local flavor to whatever region you're filming in or depicting, at least, one of the easiest ways, use the local music, because I love hearing music in different cultures and how and what you're used to seeing. And then also, when it comes to the ending of this movie, I think like a contrast is, or a contrast versus compare is the ending to Let the Right One In.
Yes.
I think with Let the Right One In, I tend to skew in the direction that Oscar was being manipulated every moment since Ellie met him, and that the ending is the result of that. Where compared to this, you have a similar ending with him making the decision, but to me there wasn't manipulation in this one. This one was more so him kind of looking back at what his life is and making the decision where, like, hey, I don't know if going off into a new city and I guess starting a life with this character is the greatest thing, but I'm going to look back a couple times at what I currently have and say, well, I'd rather go into the unknown. So I think where you have similar scenes depicting what's going on, I think there's a stark contrast in what's going on at the same time, and I think they're two. I did like the ending. I like the open-ended nature, even though it seems like we get a good enough idea of him making the decision, but I still like the way it ended.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Good shit.
Yeah, and kudos Elijah Wood, man. Keep bringing us movies like this. I mean, big studios aren't going to make movies like this. You know, this is going to be something that's always independent. But when you got names like Elijah Wood attached to it, it just gives it a little bit more exposure and validity. And
who would have thought Elijah would be like attached to this movie, but then a few years later, a movie like The Greasy Strangler.
Yeah, which I also love, by the way, but that's another story.
Yeah, and the great thing about getting movies like this made is whether or not this movie itself becomes like a cult classic or a hit, it still starts careers of people, or at least gives careers that injection that they might have needed, and then who knows what people will go on to.
Cliffhanger.
Hey, I mean, if she was able to get Cliffhanger because of this movie, then Cthulhu bless her. I'm down for it. I mean,
she's a cool chick. I heard her on a few podcasts. She was on the King Cast a few episodes back where she talked about Pet Cemetery.
Very cool.
Yeah, and
I've
the
seen
thing
one
is,
interview with her, and she seemed pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, she might get like Cliffhanger might suck, having nothing to do with her. But guess what? Because it's likely a big, budgeted movie, she might get paid enough up front, so where after that she gets to go back to making something she actually wants, and she won't be beholden to like what studios tell her to do.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm always down for independent horror directors to get their big break. I mean, we spent like 10 minutes during our Fresh Cuts episode of Bingo Hell talking about how much we'd like to see Gigi Saul Guerrero maybe, get a chance to make a studio movie. That may never happen because she's still a little bit niche right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, anytime a director can get a big money project because of something that they did, on a more independent level, I always support that.
Who would have thought that Ben Wheatley would be directing the Meg 2?
Exactly. Hey, I'll go with that.
Oh, it just turns into a cult movie.
I'd watch that. All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything else to say, I am pretty much done myself. So.
Yeah, I'm done. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good picks, Venom. Thank you, Mr. Venom.
Yeah, Mike. Mike, take note, Mike.
And one of these was a first-time watch, so I did take a chance, but it's a movie that I've pretty much only heard universal praise for, so I kind of figured it would be okay.
Damn it. Should have won the summer series now. Fuck it.
I would have fought for this one at the summer series, but that's me, though. Like, I tend to fight for the more artistic horror that maybe a lot of like the gore hounds don't appreciate.
I made some enemies on my fucking round table. Did you guys hear that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know.
People who are fans of Get Out don't listen to that episode.
Uh-oh. Jordan Peele stands. Stay away.
I'm like, it should have been fucking us. Fuck this movie.
There you go. All right, Mike, what do you say we wrap a bow on this boy?
Yeah, let's thank everyone for listening for No More Room in Hell number 42. But before we get out of here, our final agenda item is to let everyone know where else they can listen to us and what we got out. So Venom will kick it to you. Right back to you, I guess.
There you go. Not much new from me because of my new job. I've already explained this on multiple other shows, but I'll say it here again anyway. Because of my new job, it doesn't kind of afford me the amount of time that I had to podcast before, so I have had to step away from a couple of my shows. But, of course, you'll still hear me on all 3 No More Room in Hell shows. That's, of course, this one, the main show. Fresh Cuts, our weekly look at the newest genre releases, and the newest member of the family, Creature Comforts, which, of course, is Derek, Donanelli, and myself looking at the best creature features out there. Episode 6 of Creature Comforts is recorded and being edited as we speak. I would imagine as you hear this episode, Creature Comforts will also be available. So another week where No Room in Hell is putting out 3 episodes. So that's pretty epic.
Yeah.
And then the couple of other shows that I still am officially a member of, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space and In the Mic of Madness, are still on extended hiatus right now as we, try to figure out scheduling. I've explained this before within the Mic of Madness, but Rebecca Reinhart also has other podcasts that she does along with all of her independent horror filmmaking that she does herself. She's a director, a makeup person, hair, catering. She's even done catering. She's a jack of all trades for independent horror. So obviously episodes of In the Mic of Madness are going to be few and far between. Our last episode was our tribute to 1981, which we put out like maybe 3 or 4 months ago. You can now hear those on the Dark Discussions Podcast Network, so check those out. And that's pretty much it from me, Mike. Nothing else planned in the future, no guest spots. The only guest spot I did recently was on Cinema Beef with Gary Hill and Iris, where we looked at a couple of escape convict films. One was, of course, the classic The Defiant Ones with Sidney Poitier and Tony Curtis. Just a spectacular film. One of the best looks.
Can I guess the other one?
What's that?
I guess the other one.
Oh, I mean, do you even need a guess?
Black Mama, White Mama.
Black Mama, White Mama, which was actually,
Eddie Romero.
Believe it or not, it was a first-time watch for me. I had never actually seen it, and I actually ended up having a really good time with it. It opens up as a women in prison movie, but then it turns into just any classic Filipino exploitation film with lots of naked Pam Grier and the other girl whose name kind of slips my mind.
And
but
Sid Haig's outfit.
Oh, and Sig Haig's spectacular shirt. Holy shit. I literally wanted to call the movie Sid Haig and his amazing Technicolor dream blouse, but nobody agreed with me. So, but yeah, the very first outfit that Sid Haig is wearing in that movie is an outfit for the fucking ages, my friends. It is 70s personified, and only Sid Haig could pull that shirt off. So yeah, I'll recommend there definitely. But yeah, so that was my guest spot on Cinema Beef. That episode is available as we speak, and that's pretty much it from me, Mike.
Okay, Derek, what do you got going on lately?
I got nothing really going on. I've been kind of boring.
All right, me and Derek got to start a podcast now.
It's just been, actually, we did have an episode of Cinema Attack that's not out yet. We recorded it. We did the Ghostbusters trilogy. You hear how I said that? Trilogy.
Why, was there a movie that came out a few years ago? Because I don't remember that.
Yes, I unfortunately do. But we didn't have it.
I never saw it and don't care to.
Yeah, you're good.
And it's not a sexist thing, by the way. It's not like I'm railing against it because it's
we actually do talk about the movie, but we didn't watch it for the show.
Good. I mean, yeah. I mean, you should recognize it. I don't have any personal problem with the movie because I haven't seen it. It could be great for all I know. But I just haven't really had any desire to sit down and watch it. Maybe someday. Maybe one day I'll watch all 4 Ghostbusters movies back to back. But who knows? Maybe not.
Yeah, but that should be out probably next week, I hope.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's about it. Plus, I did just a guest spot recently that's not out yet. So I don't know if I want to announce that one yet. Maybe the next show. I'll do that if it's out. Because, I don't want to, like, where's the show that you said you were on?
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, a few other guest spots here and there that are coming out. Of course, Creature Comfort should be out next week, like Venom said.
Woo!
But that's about it for me. A lot of my shows are on hiatuses, but, Venom, one of them's on hiatus, plus a few other ones are. So, yeah, I'm available. I'm a man whore if you want me on a podcast. Come see me.
Yeah. We're all whores, damn it.
And Mike just does nothing but eat chicken nuggets because chicken nuggets.
Mike is the cheap whore that nobody wants.
Yes,
He just eats. He loves chicken nuggets. Chicken nuggets are like his family.
Yeah. So as far as I go, yeah, not much other than the regular stuff. I was a guest on Bo's Dark Parade. We talked about The Gate. That was fun. What else? I think that's pretty much it for me as well.
I saw that on YouTube and I watched, I watched/listened to like the first 15, 20 minutes of it. Yeah, pretty good. I mean, Mike is terrible, but the show's pretty good.
Cool. Well, then I guess everyone would get what they're expecting, right?
Yeah.
I think rotation goes back to Derek next. And didn't you say you already know what your picks are going to be?
Yeah, I do know what my picks are.
Woo!
I'm going to tell you.
Good. Feel free to announce them.
Yeah, we're going to be doing 2 psychological movies that have a connection to both Asian cinema, but they also are kind of influenced by Italian cinema as well.
Ooh.
Of course, the first one is an anime film from 1996 known as Perfect Blue.
Yes!
Hey.
Yes!
And we're also going to be taking a look at a movie that will be a first-time watch for me, Pearson.
Oh, Pearson.
Yes.
Okay, I remember seeing that. I only saw it the one time. I think I remember it being pretty good.
Yeah, Nicholas Pesh.
Yes, yeah, okay. Oh, that's going to be a good show. 2 good movies. Nice.
Yeah. See, Mike, take note.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to those. Pearson will be a first-time watch for me, too. So, looking forward to it.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I would describe it because the Asian connection to that one is it's actually based on a novel by the same guy who wrote Audition.
Oh,
Which makes sense.
classic.
Yeah.
Torture porn. So fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, sounds awesome. And we're still, at the beginning of March, so we should be able to at least get that episode out in March.
Oh, yeah.
We will look to do that. But until then, it's time to descend back down to the Lake of Fire. So let's say bye to the listeners.
I'm going to become... I want those skulls. I want those skulls.
All right, folks, take care and think really, really hard before you turn your girlfriend into a vampire. Just think really hard.
Yep. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.
Adios. Hail Satan.